what I'd like for our panelists to do is just to give us a little bio on them, and their past experience, and also kind of why you're here today, and what's important to you being able to assist actors like us in terms of understanding how to maneuver the industry. So why don't we talk?
Start on that side?
Yeah, I was going to start with Mr. Crawford.
Yeah.
No, start there.
Drew
Ladies
Waters.
first.
Tell us a little bit about your career, Mr. Actor, Director, Producer. What
Keep it
stuntman? Stuntman is credits. What else? What else do we know
Make
about
me
you?
sound like a mutt. There's nothing wrong with mutts. They're the best ones, right? Yeah, they get to live the most life. That's it. Drew Waters, originally from Texas. I started my career about 17 years ago at 30, so I'm dating myself. Well, no, I'm 16 now. I'm 46, so at 30. And I had an opportunity to do a commercial in Tokyo, Japan, and I fell in love with it, not knowing anything about it. But I knew I loved the workings of it and what it was about. And so I came back 5 years later. I woke up owning a retail business and full-blown construction company with partners, going, this is not what I'm supposed to do. And I decided to chase a dream that I had. And that dream took me on a journey that I've never imagined in a million years that it took me on. But I took the mentality of the business aspect of what I knew to allow me to trust the journey to go forward. And to date, I have 73 credits. Most of them are top of show guest star. I've been a part of a lot of major films, a lot of major television shows, runs on them, and I don't look at the past, I look at the future and what can I do next. And so I applaud you guys for being here, want to learn more about it. That's the first step. We all are trying to figure out every day, whether you're in production or acting or in agency or casting, what the industry is going to do next and how can we niche ourselves into that part of it because we love it so much. So give yourself a round of applause for doing that. I'm a mutt. I'm a proven statistic that you're never too late to chase your dreams, because here I am standing here as a successful actor for the last 17 years, making a living doing it and making a career doing it. So thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, Drew.
And I got a flowery shirt on. That's cool.
Hey guys, my name is Ryan Parker. I graduated from the University of Georgia with a degree in entertainment and media studies. So I kind of was brought up and trained for sort of like on-set production, kind of behind the camera work. When I graduated, I started off freelancing, and that was terrifying right out of school. So like I kind of like took a step back and started to look into other corners sort of of the industry. And decided that I wanted to go into the agency side. So I started with People Store, talent agency here in Atlanta, and I've been there for about a year. So
he's one of my agents.
Nice one, Drew.
We'll give you his phone number later.
And Miss Stacia.
Hi, I'm Stacia Crawford. I started off as an actor. I'm still an actor. And I got a little tired of waiting for somebody else to make my career for me. And I got tired of bartending. So I started writing and producing, and I lived in New York City for 9 years. I lived in LA for 12. And I slowly started producing independent films, just anything I could get my hands on. I joined forces with Mar Vista, and I did 5 films with them as a producer and an actor. I still do the acting part as well. And those films are like Hallmark, Lifetime, CMT, Netflix. And then about a year ago, I decided to switch over to directing. I always wanted to direct, but I really knew that I needed to hone my craft as a creator and an actor, as well as getting the production side under my belt in order for me to combine the two to become a really good director. So I love directing. I never thought I'd love anything as much as acting, and I love it. And I think that this is important, giving back. I think that everyone that you meet here, that you kind of grow up with, these are going to be your lifelong friends. And in this business, it's who knows you. And I think that giving back is so important, and being kind is so important. Because I'm telling you, there's so many actors that are so talented, but we call each other. will say, hey, we know that you worked with this guy, Mark. Is he decent? And she might go, well, he was a little bit of a diva. He's a good actor. He just lost the job. Not because he's not a good actor, but because when you're doing, you know, a 14-day shoot on $500,000, you cannot have one problem. And it can't be from an actor who thinks that they're too, you know, too good for the business or whatever. So just, if I could implore anything, it's just be kind. Be kind in your scene, in your scene partners, with your producers, with your directors, because we're a team. We all work together and we all talk together, and giving back. I think that it's important for me. On all of my films, I always employ UNG students that are going through the film program, and I work out a system with the professors to where they come to work on my set, and I kind of train them and they get class credit. So again, it's all about giving back, being kind, working together. It really is such a team effort. So that's my
Here,
motto.
here.
Very well said, very well said.
Yeah. So good.
And Erin Boyle.
Yay. Hi, I'm Erin Boyle, and I am one of the teachers here at Atlanta Hollywood. I'm also a professional actress. I've been an actress in film and television for about 11 years. Before that, I was focused mostly on theater and musical theater and that sort of thing. So that's sort of my roots and my background. But after moving to Los Angeles and needing to support myself financially because it's an expensive city, I started working in marketing and distribution for independent films. So in addition to being an actor, I also had to learn basically how films get sold. And I got to see firsthand from working with a lot of independent producers and the actors that they had hired, I got to see firsthand the really good choices and the really bad choices that were made along the way that led to whether or not a project was actually successful. And so I kind of took that knowledge, and Drew and I met on a movie set and both started talking a little bit similar to what you were saying about how we were sort of frustrated in our acting careers, falling into this uncastable chasm of like, well, you're too much of a somebody for a nothing role in this, but you're not enough of a somebody for a something role in this. And it was just this really difficult place that we had found ourselves, and just getting frustrated with the whole concept of like, with an acting career, no matter how talented you are, no matter how great your look is, there's still your career is ultimately determined by other people to some extent, and that can get really frustrating and really disheartening. And so we both wanted to kind of take that into our own hands and form a production company, not even so that we could always act in our projects, but like Stacia was saying, so that we could meet and network with other people and grow our world of who we know. Because people work with who they like. That's the truth of this industry. I've booked more stuff because I got recommended because of my personality and they like me than because I'm a good actress. I hope I'm a good actress, but it's a lot about whether or not you're just wonderful to work with and how you got to know people and your circle of sort of influence. And so that's really why I teach at Atlanta Hollywood. I want to teach the next generation of great actors that are coming up, because then, you know, they'll turn around and cast me when I'm an old lady. It's totally selfish. It's selfish. No, but I do want to. I want to invest in the next generation of storytellers. I'm a storyteller. That's what I consider myself, and that's sort of the label I would like to wear more than even actress or director or writer or producer. Not that I'm a director, but any of those is just storyteller. And however I get to tell stories, whether it's telling stories in class with actors to help them develop character, or telling stories on the screen, or whatever it may be, that's what I'm really passionate about. And I love the fact that this studio is interested in investing in you, not only in your talent and your skill level and your ability to become great actors, but very few studios that I've ever studied with take the time to also make sure that you really understand the industry that you're getting into, and thinking of your career as, when you're an actor, you are an entrepreneur. And you are starting your own small business, and you do have to run your career that way to some extent. And so I love that we're putting on this event to help inspire that in all you folks.
And I just want to add, if you, I may, Michelle, I just want to add something to that. Is like everyone that you see on this panel right now is actively working in this industry. We're not just talking about it as we worked in it. We're actively, I just came off a top show residence spot. He just booked me on another spot. He worked till noon today, booking people on other spots.
My phone is still in my hand.
Yes,
as you
yeah.
can see.
She's waiting on calls to move through. We have a project in Ireland right now that's going through, plus one in Puerto Rico that we're pushing for and having a conversation with. So we're all actively working
Because you
right
have
now
to
in
be.
this industry.
You
We're
so
talking
need me as a PA
yeah,
on that
we
side.
do.
Yeah.
Rolling your sleeves up and digging in. Yeah.
So your questions, when you ask them because we're not stagnant. I mean, we talk to LA, every one of us out here have a conversation with the powers out there every single day.
Yeah.
We are communicating, we know the industry well, so this is about you guys learning and being a part of it, okay? So don't feel
I'm
timid.
just gonna
Wait.
hug my ear if you can.
Time out because we have coffee.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
That's a really good break for me to talk about how the afternoon is going to run logistically, okay? So we went out to social media and to our actors and through classes. We have a number of questions that have been pre-submitted. And so what we would like to do is go through those questions. The panelists between them are going to decide who wants to answer the question the most or might be best suited to answer that question. And then we are open to comments and questions as long as we're staying on topic. If we start to go off topic, please, I'll probably ask if we can park that to the end. We are going to open the floor at 4:30. So do hold on to your questions if you can, if it's not on topic, because it's probably going to be covered somewhere in the 30 questions that we have to ask. And then anything that's not covered at the end, we'll open the floor for that. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, is everybody coffeed up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ready to go with the first question?
Oh, we're so ready. Sorry, we just really need it. It's midday. You need
It's
the.
like right at, yeah.
I'm an
Yeah.
open book, you can ask me anything, I don't know.
First rule of filmmaking.
Right.
Coffee. Are you
Okay. Who would like to take the following
Ask me,
question?
let's find out.
All right.
I got the ear tug.
All right, explain from your perspective what's happening in the Georgia film world and what opportunities are available for actors here.
Ooh.
That's a biggie. I don't know. Maybe we
I
should take that one
know.
last.
Who wants to take? Should we maybe do like a little
Every-
bit into that and we
Yeah.
can kind of get into it more
Yeah.
later?
Yeah.
Just
I'll
like
tell
a
you-
quick top line.
I started my career in Texas. Georgia is a similar state like Texas was when we started. We don't have the great tax incentive that you guys had. My career started in Texas and grew from there where it took me to LA.
And
So
Atlanta.
everything,
So you're telling us there's a chance.
what I'm saying, everything that you need right now, if you're hungry to be in this industry, is right now happening in Georgia 10 times over what I had in Texas.
Wow,
Everything.
wow. And what advice would you give for
Take the opportunities. Find things that you like to
what
enjoy.
opportunities are available?
The first
Yeah.
movie I ever did was a bad D horror movie. Literally a bad D horror movie. And I went on, don't go on Craigslist and answer things. They'll all tell you, don't do that. I did. And I sat in a room and I read across from this guy that's supposed to be a girl and I booked this role and then we ended up doing this for $3,500 and we sold the daggum thing, which brought me to another level of now co-producing, co-directing, co-this. Brought me to another level which got me comfortable in front of the camera. If you're first starting out and you're not comfortable in front of the camera but you want to be a part of it, find a camera. Whether at home, wherever it is, and be in front of it and get comfortable around things, around people, around. I wear this shirt because I don't care. Just be comfortable. Just
And invest in yourself because you
Yes.
cannot expect anybody to invest in
To
you
do it for you.
if you're not going to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Like take the time, come to classes. I mean, truly, how are you going to ask, a producer to invest in you when you're not even doing your demo tapes or, band together, do short films like what you were saying, get
Collaborate.
comfortable. This is the time for you guys to really work together so that when you get to the set of Resident, you're prepared.
Yeah.
And
I think one thing that's an interesting opportunity for Georgia actors, because I personally see and hear a lot of frustration of a lot of the big roles they're still casting out of Los Angeles, and those of us who are actors in Georgia, even really great actors, we aren't getting the same opportunities that LA actors are, and that may be true. It's not a fair industry. that's just how it goes. So we can sit around and lick our wounds and be upset that LA actors are getting opportunities, or we can sort of try to do something about it. And what I think is a really great opportunity is the fact that there is so much production going on. And even if you don't get a speaking role in a show, even if you're not booking a top of show guest star, the opportunity to get on a set here is so much bigger than it has ever been. And so, therefore, the opportunity for you to meet people, to network with people, to build relationships with people in the industry exists in Georgia in a way that it never has before in these last, 10 years where this growth has happened.
Yeah.
And so, even if it's not an opportunity for you as an actor to book a top of show guest star, it's an opportunity for you as an actor to meet people who are making stuff.
Listen,
Hey,
watch.
on that note, what have you found to be the main difference between Georgia actors and LA actors?
As a producer, director?
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely, 100%. It'd be nice to get all of your perspectives.
So I did 7 films in 3 years as a producer. Even when I'm directing, I'm still producing. So we always look for our main top 2 as a known actor, because it's just what the networks want. But we open every single role up to locals in New York and LA. So every single person here who has an agent who can get them in through the breakdown has the same opportunity as an LA actor. And I'm telling you, it's not about, everyone's talented, so it's not about the LA actor was better. It really has to do, so much has to do with, do you look like the lead, so therefore you couldn't play the love interest, you could play the sister. Are you taller than this person? Are you shorter than this person? Do you live, there's so much that goes on
That's out of your control.
that has nothing to do with talent. So you
Yeah.
guys gotta leave that, that you're not good enough, or that you didn't book the role because you're not talented. You gotta leave that, that is not true. It's not the case.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, I mean, like, I agree, like, from a casting perspective, working at a talent agency, I mean, we rep clients who are based here, we rep some clients who are in Los Angeles. We focus primarily on the Southeast, but like, kind of like Stacia was saying, I mean, it doesn't necessarily always matter about where you are. Logistics, come into play all over the place with this kind of thing for sure. And then, like she said, I mean, it does depend, it's a case-to-case, kind of basis, but like, it depends on kind of, like she said, do you look like this person, or do you look like that person, or sometimes it's availability. It really is kind of all over the place, but we are starting to see a lot more shows kind of pull local people, because if you're going to come like for maybe recurring guest stars, a lot of episodic series will look for true local hires, because
You're talking thousands of dollars they're saving.
Right. Yeah, because
It's a money decision.
Because if you're not a local, then some people are going to be willing to fly themselves out, and production is not going to fly you out from LA to Atlanta hardly ever. It's one of those things where you just have to like, they're looking for those locals, so that way they can say like, if you're going to be in episode 406 next week, but we need you to be back for 408 in like a month and a half, they're going to want somebody who's here. So it really depends
Do you
on the
rep
project.
Jason Berkey?
Oh, I love
He's with your
Jason.
agent.
Is he?
Yeah, I cast him
Yeah.
as a lead, because he was just such a
He's
great
a
guy.
local Georgia guy. Yeah,
he's with you.
great.
Jason who?
Berkey?
Oh, Berkey, yes.
I cast him in
Yeah.
one of my, he's
Sorry, I
one of
misheard
the
you.
leads,
Yeah.
So it can lead roles can definitely happen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be a little bit of a negative voice on this for just a second, so forgive me, but a little reality check. One of the interesting differences that I've noticed between LA actors and Georgia actors, if you want to look at like not from a casting point, but just from like their approach to the work. Actors in Los Angeles, none of them are from Los Angeles. They have all moved there to be actors, which means every dollar they make, they're living with like 6 roommates and they're working 3 jobs and they're bartending all through the night so that they can pay for acting class and get their headshots and go to auditions and pay for gas to get in the room. That is their entire reason for existing.
Yeah.
And it's a different mentality than those of us who are here in Georgia or from Georgia, who it's just like, oh, it's cool, like they make movies here. I could also probably act in those. And so I have found, and this is not across the board, but there can be a tendency for Georgia actors. A Los Angeles actor is not missing class because they have worked 6 shifts at the bar to pay for that class. And they have eaten peanut butter and jelly for a month to pay for that class. So there is a little bit of a different mentality in terms of like your commitment, I want to say. I hate using that word, but just the prioritization of the career can be a little different when you've uprooted your entire life and left all of your family behind in order to pursue it. And that's something, I don't know how we capture that same thing in Georgia, and I don't know if it's necessarily as important to capture it, but it is definitely a difference and does sometimes show in the work.
Crew too.
Well, here's,
Crew too.
yeah,
Well,
here's,
what advice would you guys give to someone who has never acted before, who wanted to break into the Georgia film industry?
go find something else to do.
We don't need the competition.
So
Get out.
much, so much, there's some great opportunities out there you want to chase, I'm telling you.
That's what David Letterman used to tell comedians, you know. They would say, like, how do I get into comedy? He'd be like, oh, he's like, you don't want to do it. It's too hard, and I don't need the competition.
Yeah.
That's what he would always say to comedians. I know, right?
I'll say
I'll let
this
you win. Yeah.
to that because you know I was a high 6-figure business owner when I made the decision to change my career. I had a 2-year-old daughter, and it meant that I was about to sacrifice my family's life for my decision. It was a selfish decision. We talked through it, and I decided to do it. And when I made the decision, 2 weeks later, I walked in with my business partners. I said, "Buy me out, resolve me." I worked hard at that, but I'm going to go chase this passion. I didn't do it to be stagnant in one area. I did it because I wanted to travel and be global, and I wanted to bring my kids with me and be a part of something that I was enjoying in life. It's like what they say, the old saying, find what you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. Fortunately, I found acting that I love to do.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but because there's so many other ways. Because everybody thinks that I'm going to be famous, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And if you think that way, you'll fail. If you think of it as a business perspective, and you look at everybody on there, and she'll tell you, every minute is $1. Every second is a value. And if you waste that second, it has to be made up somewhere else, and that is a cost efficient. And if you sacrifice that, you're not going to be brought back. If you think of it as a business going in, that if you see this person on television 5 times a day or whatever, and you walk up to him and you're working with him, it's not like, oh my God, it's you! Because that's a professional. You're like, hey, how you doing, man?
Your
I'm
peers,
Drew
your
Waters, nice to
colleagues.
meet you. And then you do your job, and they're like, I like this guy, he's easy. I like this girl, she's easy. And then you move that thing forward.
I'm gonna
understanding.
jump on that for a minute just to point back to the question about like if you've never acted before, how do you act? And essentially, how do you break in? And essentially the answer is if you start any small business that you've never started before, how do you start that small business? You know, if you want to open a soap store, you need to first learn how to make soap. And then you need to put some money into it and some sweat equity into it and things like that. And so really it's the same thing. If you've never acted before and you're wanting to start an acting career, it's not going to happen overnight. It is going to require sweat equity. It is going to require work. It is going to require financial planning and financial sacrifice, just like starting any small business.
You gotta want it more than anything.
Yeah,
Just
so it's education, it's networking. If you want to open a soap store, you call other people who've opened soap stores and you say, how did you do it? You know, so it's asking questions and not being afraid to sort of put yourself out there and say, like, stake your claim and say, this is what I want, but I know I can't do it alone, so who can help me?
We always
and
say,
faking it till you make it, guys, is so passe. Like, don't do that because you're gonna get caught.
Yeah.
And those are hard reputations.
We can
to live
sniff
down.
those out.
And it's so much easier to say, hey, I'm new. How can I be? How can I get? As opposed to, oh, I work 3 days as an extra on Spider-Man, so I'm a producer now. Like it doesn't work that way. There was a time where people did that, and it's gonna throw you back 10 years.
It's too easy to Google now.
It's just,
I know.
and be authentic. Just be authentic.
Yes,
But classes,
thank you.
Classes,
Yes.
classes,
Classes.
classes. get together, do short films on the weekends. It doesn't matter if it
Make
doesn't get into a
content.
festival. It doesn't matter. You
yeah.
guys are learning.
Well-
You're learning everything.
That's what I was going to piggyback too off of what everybody was saying about like starting. Well, first off, you, like Drew said, don't get into it if you're like, I want to be famous. Like they said, you're going to sniff it out. You know, when we read for new talent, you know, if people come in and we've been given a referral and we're, you know, interviewing them and kind of having them read, we can tell like that. It's so easy to tell if they absolutely don't know what they're talking about. So you have to put in that kind of commitment at first and like say be realistic about your expectations. Like you're not gonna get, you know, necessarily like an agent rep or like book a commercial or book a film like that. You kind of got to start, you know, realistically. Like I mean, we have schools like Georgia State and SCAD here in town. Get connected with people there. If you can't get into a project, student films are often a good way to do that.
Yeah, so just real quick, I'm producing and earmuffs. There's no money in it, so don't worry. But I'm producing and acting 2 short films right now because the people I'm involved with win festivals, and I want to be seen further than what I've been doing and stuff. And so, on the midst of now going to auditions that he's sending me to and working the jobs that we get the luckily to have, I'm also out there finding other opportunities for me to get in front of, whether it's producer, director, actor, you know, connector or whatever, to keep moving my craft forward because those are festival runs and those are the people, those festival people are hungry what they do and you never know which one's going to be the biggest next one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you want that
Produce the next
opportunity.
Scorsese, yeah.
And even once you do get rep, I mean, like we tell all of our clients, even our like booking clients who are working constantly, there's going to be dips and there's going to be lulls, and we tell them like in those lulls, if you're not on set, be in class, because like again, because you have to love it. And I know everybody here, you're here because you love it. So keep that energy going because you've got to use that to kind of get you through those lulls and stay in classes and keep those tools sharp so that way when the opportunity does come, you're not going to get caught sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I say about being in class, and I know those of you who are my students hear me say this all the time, but you know, if you're an actor and your agent asks, are you in class right now, and you say no, that's kind of like if you're a pro athlete and your coach asks, have you worked out lately, and you say no. Your coach is going to be like, moron, you're going to get hurt. You cannot just work out when you're playing in the game. You have to work out behind the scenes and in your downtime. You have to keep yourself sharp, and classes is the same thing.
Okay, we're going to take a little bit different track here. And I think, Ryan, ultimately you'll end up answering most of the next 4 questions. The first one, however, when which is, what exactly does a talent agent do? I'd like
to
the
know
3
that.
of you.
I love you. I love you.
I saw Drew was going to be on this panel. I was
I'd
like,
like the 3 of you to answer that question first, and then we'll let Ryan answer it.
Sure.
Do you want to just go down the line?
Well, but I want Ryan to answer last, because
Okay.
I want perspectives of what a talent agent does.
Just like that means
Honestly, the short
amazing.
answer is talent agents help those who help themselves.
Yes.
If you think that getting an agent immediately means that you will get auditions or get work, then your definition of a talent agent is off. That is not their job, is to make your career. Their job is to support the career you are working to make by providing you opportunities. That's how I see it.
And they build the relationships to be able to do that.
So their job is essentially to look at you as an unbiased perspective, because the way we see ourselves is never actually the way that other people see us. So their job is to look at you in an unbiased perspective and determine these are the roles that you are very likely to book, that you have better odds of booking because of
likely
your...
being the key word.
Yes.
Because nothing's guaranteed.
No,
Come on,
no.
Ryan.
But that you are likely to book or in the category of, and to set you up to have that shot. So yeah, that's my definition, I guess.
So,
Forgive us.
an agent works for you.
Yes.
Okay, so an agent is there to support you, is to work for you, but like she was saying, they can't pound down doors. However, have a very good, the better you are at your craft, the better your agent's gonna have the tools to promote you.
Very important that the actor maintains, establishes, and nurtures that relationship they have with their talent agent. Would you?
Well, you got to build a reputation, because if you're silent and then you call them once a month going, "Where's my work? Where's my work?" They're like, "Where's your work?" You know, if you don't give them the tools to sell you,
You haven't updated your headshot
They
in 3
can't
years.
sell
What do
you.
you want me to do
Yeah.
with this?
you know, if you haven't updated anything, if you're not out there trying to make something to give them a tool to sell you, because you can't go directly to the casting directors. The big ones won't see you, they won't listen to you, they're gonna shut you out, they won't do anything. Producers always go to the big agencies anyways, and we pull from that wheelhouse because it's trusted. It's like a business. If you look at this industry as a business, you have an owner, CEO, CFO, COOs, and all these people that are working for you. You set yourself up in that perspective. Now, sometimes the agencies don't work out, and you look at different agencies because of that. Maybe they don't, and not to say you guys don't, but maybe they don't. It's not a good fit. Maybe they're not getting your vibe, and they don't understand who you are. Well, that's your problem to figure out, right?
If you are thinking
need
of it
to-
as a business, you can look at your agent as like your head of sales and marketing. But if you don't have a product that is sellable,
What do you want them to
a
sell?
product that's needed on the market, then your head of marketing has a really hard time going out to market and telling people why they should buy that product.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well, I
and
would,
I don't know if
like
you
to
were.
hear from Ryan though.
Hold on.
Yes.
Just real quick, I don't know if you were in when I came, because I had
Oh, what is
to
it, LA?
read for People Store when I came from LA, right? And so, I don't know if were you in the room?
No, that was like 2 years ago. I think it was before.
So I'm dyslexic. I can't take a script, and that's why I memorize stuff really quick. But if you give me a script and ask me to read it right there, I sound like a blubbering idiot. And you're like, what? How the hell do you ever work? It's like crazy. But I said, all right, give me 15
Because
minutes.
he's pretty.
Shut up. No. I'll tell you right now, leading men suck. I would go character actor in a heartbeat because they work 10
I'm sorry, I
times
didn't
more.
mean to get you off topic. Go on.
But here's the honest to God truth. I walked in that room. I said, give me 15 minutes. I came back. I walked in that room. I was not completely off book, but I threw the script away and I said, let's have a conversation. And we did the scene. He was reading the scene. I think it was Alex. Alex was reading the scene. And I kept looking at Alex going, God dang, you should be on like one of those Law and Order things, man. You look so good. And we're just dancing. We're doing this stuff. And at the end of it, he goes, I'd have a beer with you. And they hired me. They signed me. Because it wasn't about being perfect. It's just about being real. It's like they got to know who I was right off the bat. I was comfortable enough to be in the room and be comfortable with them and stuff. And they said, okay, we can work with this. We know you have the work ethics. And luckily I did. I had the work ethics, which helped. But it's a struggle for me. Every single day that I wake up, I have to overcome that challenge automatically and stuff because I've gotten a lot better. But they hired me because I walked in there and said, give me 15 minutes. I was honest about who I was. I was honest about my struggles. And I said, let's do this.
Ryan.
Thank you, Trey. Ryan, I would love to hear from you.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I just kind of, I'm liking to hear the different perspectives because it's really, because, like I'm in it every day, so it's cool to hear, like, and it's all, I mean, everything they've been saying is true. We work for our talent. And especially at People Store, we are very adamant about building that relationship. This industry is built on relationships, and that is true in agencies as well. So what we do is like Drew and everyone else was saying, is we work for our talent. When breakdowns for different projects are released, character breakdowns, like, say we have for The Resident, and we're looking for like a nurse role. Casting will release that to us and say we're looking for a nurse, a doctor, and a patient. And then we'll go through and we'll look at all the roles that they have released, and we'll submit our talent. If we say, oh, there's a doctor role, I think Drew would be great for that, then we'll submit Drew, things like that. And then that kind of goes back to casting. We'll send our selects back up, and then casting will say, okay, of those that you have, chosen, like, we want to see these people. So we work in getting them auditions. We work on getting the auditions. We work to create those opportunities. Because a lot of people, sometimes I think a lot of people have the misconception that, like Erin was saying, so if you can get me an audition in the room, then we're gonna book this, right? Because you know the guy, right? I'm like, well, yes, we have a relationship with that casting director, but we're not. I mean, we can't guarantee that you're gonna get the role.
Or even get seen.
Or even get seen. Yeah, we can say sometimes even when we pitch, or we give our selects for different roles, casting will come back and they'll give us like 3 out of the 5 that we select, and we'll say, okay, but we really think you should see one of these people that you didn't see. And sometimes we have to do a pitch, and sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. there's a lot that's kind of out of
So,
our control.
An average of 300 people get seen per role. I mean, submit for a role. Then the casting director narrows it down to 7.
Slices that.
Yep.
7, from 300 to 7.
Yeah, so you're looking at like less than 1%.
Because they don't want to overwhelm the director
Right,
with choices.
now,
Right.
there's been many a time where I'll call an agent that I know and just say, who do you got?
Yeah.
I won't even, I'll just call them directly. And then sometimes an agent will call me and say, did you get to see, Erin's? And I'll say, no, what do you mean? I haven't seen her reel yet. So then I'll call the casting director, and the casting director will say, well, we thought she looked too much like, and I'll say, no, I want to see it. So having the relationships with agents, and then the agents having relationships with you, is just, it's all.
And
It's
then
all
we also work on
interconnected.
an agency level. We work to get actors, to that point where they now have a relationship with casting directors.
Right.
Because that's big. Because a lot of times, and especially in the Southeast as well, I think.
They'll fight for you.
Yeah, yeah. Casting directors.
Casting directors are your best ally.
That's the
for
thing is
sure.
if you can, like Drew was saying, be authentic and be real about kind of who you are, especially when you're going out and if you're seeking representation, all along that search. Also, don't get disheartened if you don't get representation by the first or second or third agencies that you sort of audition for, because a lot of what we do too, and working for people like that is a big part of that for us is seeing, okay, this person came in and they were great. If someone comes in to read for us, looking for representation.
Can I dovetail
But-
off that? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
of
go ahead.
course you can.
Yeah.
So everybody gets nervous, right? Don't be afraid to get nervous. That's your batteries. That's that light bulb inside of you it's telling your body's telling you you're alive.
It's telling you it's important.
Don't be
It's good.
concerned about being nervous. Everyone, even when I'm auditioning for my own shows, which I have to do, by the way, I still get nervous. Or even when I'm on
course.
set, I'm jumping from directing to, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's my line? I get upset,
Yeah.
it's normal.
Because we know that too. Like when new
Yes.
talent comes in to read for us,
They're nervous.
we know that they're nervous because we come to a table, like we have the entire commercial team and the entire film team will come in and we'll watch. Because we want to
It's
have a relationship with these people.
nerve-wracking.
And we
It's
see if you
supposed
come
to
in,
be. You're human.
Accept it.
Right.
Use that in your character. Use it. I'm more concerned with. I want to see what the character's doing, not what the lines are. Because the
Because-
lines are going to
Right.
change.
because you're going to perform better too. Like Drew was saying too earlier, like you have to sort of like be confident. If you're not comfortable in front of a camera, get comfortable in front of a camera because you're going to sort of like, that's going to project and that's going to exude from your auditions. And so when you get in the room with people, like we get it too because we have a whole room of people and they'll come in and they're like, wow, I didn't think there's going to be this many people. And we're like, no, it's okay. We know. It's okay. But like, it's because we're invested
And
in
they just stare at you.
And rejection is part of it, right?
Okay, Ryan,
Yeah.
I do have another, so
Sure.
when should I, as an actor, pursue getting an agent? When am I ready to pursue it, get an agent? And how do I know which agent to sign with?
Yeah, that's a multi-layered.
It is,
Yeah,
right?
okay. How do
Putting
you know
your
when
feet
you're
to the fire.
How do you know when you're ready? So I'll take that from a perspective of kind of what we look for.
Absolutely,
How do I know?
100%.
Because like it's going to be different from agency to agency. So what we look for is, do you have credits? Are you working? Because that's a big thing. If I see that you've done 3 short films and you did one in 2016, you did one in 2018, and now you're doing one now. Okay, that's good. We don't discount the short films or anything like that. The theatrical experience too. We look to see like plays, stage shows. If you can't get in a short film, fine, get in a play. We want to see that you.
Great practice.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to see that
Actively
you.
working.
Yeah, we want to see you actively working. We want to see, do you have a track record of like this person's working, because that, like you were saying earlier, like that. I mean, like we don't like to use the word commitment, but as far as like, how active are you right now? We want to see people who are active and go-getters and like, because.
Are you making it happen
That's
for yourself?
Exactly, yeah, because
Yeah.
like, again, we can only, that's, part of our jobs is to create those opportunities. We kind of get you, the opportunities for that, and then you have to, you're gonna have to make it happen. So we look to see, are you working? Are you active? Now, sometimes people will have somehow booked, commercials or gotten extras on film sets and things like that. So we look for that, and we also see like, how do you respond to people in a room? How do you take direction? How do you do all these things? Because sometimes we'll have new talent come in and we'll read the script and with them, and then they'll kind of give us one read, and then sometimes we'll just be like, okay, that was good. Try it like this, and then we see how can you take direction, because that's a thing too. Is we want to make sure that when you're on camera or when you're in a room with a casting director, if there are in-person auditions or when you're on set or wherever you might be, that you're going to respond well and that you're going to kind of have that chemistry and you're going to be personable.
And that your listening is
Listening,
turned on.
yeah.
Yes, because like you were saying,
Yeah.
like you don't just want to read the lines. Like you were saying with his audition, it was a conversation. I want you to know what's on the page, but if you're nervous about like, what if I miss this? What if I miss like this part of that line?
Because you guys
That's
are
okay.
staring at it.
That's okay. We would rather you get what's going on in the scene and
And it's gonna
understand, make a
change on
choice.
set, guys. It's gonna change.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
When I'm shooting 9
Absolutely.
pages a day and I've got 12 hours to make my day and it starts pouring rain and now I gotta move my scene from outside to inside, your lines are going to change.
I mean, no one here's auditioning for an Aaron Sorkin project, as far
Right.
as I know. So, like,
be
unless
flexible.
Sorkin wrote it, it's
Right.
very unlikely that it's Bible.
Because honestly,
But
too,
be
like,
prepared for it to change.
Yes.
I'll say personally, when I see people come in and read for us, what I like to see too is if, like, because we, you know, like if I'll review the sides or I'll know the script that these new talent are going to read, and I come in and I'm like, oh, I'm hearing what they're doing and I'm watching them. They missed that line because I know what that line says because I've heard that script a billion times, but they made it work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That's what's important.
They
you know?
stayed in character.
And you
they-
stay in character.
yeah.
Don't, if you're ever in a room for an audition and you somehow miss a line or you stumble or something, never
Never.
break. Never say
Worst
sorry
thing.
and then laugh and then let's look at some people like sorry and then they're like
Use it as a character.
Sorry,
yeah.
can I start over?
Yeah,
Like,
no. It's to me because listen
Because
because
it
we
becomes
know this
organic.
stuff happens.
I mean,
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
feels organic. We know that happens and that's okay. I feel like we've gotten off topic.
Is this
Well,
helpful?
I was gonna ask, and I was thinking, ooh,
But it's-
tricky
it's-
question. Can I get auditions if I don't have an agent?
Ooh, yes, you can.
Man,
How do I do that? Do I reach out to producers and casting directors directly?
It's
Is that
relationships,
allowed?
but there's also social media. There's a lot of opportunities out there right now in Georgia that we look at when we go out to the castings or whatever. I mean, there's groups, there's organizations, there's everything that you can start getting involved in. The key is to start
Networking.
getting involved.
Right.
That's the key words. If you're
Your
just sitting there
network.
stagnant on the couch going, I want to do that, I want to do that, and why is it not working? The agent's going to tell you the same thing that everybody else is going to tell you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, I
Their
mean,
job is not to do that.
you can play the self-submission game. You completely can. You can get on Actors Access and you can submit yourself for stuff all day long. The only thing I will say is if that's all you're doing to try and get roles, you're
Really?
missing 90% of the process.
And guys, I was just a judge on 2 major film festivals, and I watched 200 films. And I literally have a list of people from those films that I want to work with. That I
Yeah.
want to produce, I want to direct for, and actors I want to work with, who are unknowns.
Am I on that list? Not from those films.
Real quick
that's it.
story.
You mentioned social media. How important is social media, IMDb, and all
Vital.
of those platforms for being
Crucial.
able to get auditions?
Unfortunately.
I go
Watch-
back and forth.
Watch
I
what
go
you
back
put-
and forth.
Watch what you put on social media.
Watch
because
what you put.
Yeah.
I, as a producer, director, when I can't decide between 2 actors, I will do a little research.
We
I'll
will
go
Google
to
you.
IMDb, I will Google you, I will look at your Facebook page. If you're being politically incorrect, if you're being mean, I mean, if
If
Oh,
we're
we're not talking
trying
about
to-
follower status. We're just
No,
talking
just
about what you
content.
post.
just
Okay.
what you
Okay.
post,
I agree with that,
yeah.
yeah.
Just be.
It is important, and I do think if you are an actor, I do think it's important. I don't brand my social media about being an actor. That's not what my social media is necessarily branded for. I don't disagree with that approach, but I do think because I am an actor, I still have to be selective about what I put on social media.
Agreed.
I have a brand. I have a brand, and because my brand is the things that I am likely to get cast for are a family-friendly film, a Hallmark film, playing the nice wife or the woman next door. If my social media is full of scantily clad photos and foul language, I may not be the best spokesperson for that production company or for that network or whatever it may be. If you follow any of the girls on social media, like any of the Hallmark girls, we all know there's the Hallmark girls, right? There's Candace Cameron Bure, there's Lacey Chabert, like there's the Hallmark girls. And their social media is very family friendly. They keep it clean, They keep their brand on point because they know where their money's coming
But
from.
wouldn't you say that when you look on social media and stuff, you're looking for who they really are as well? So you can understand their character?
For sure.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing,
I'm
just
not
be
saying
yourself, be
overly
realistic and be
curated
yourself.
at all.
If you're not the person to take the scandalous pictures, don't take the scandalous
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have
Be
to
your
do
personality,
that because you
you
think
know?
you're going to get something.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And how
Just
much
be
do-
smart. You're your own brand.
Yeah.
guys.
Well,
Just
and
manage
so
your brand.
how important is it for us to promote our brand, for instance, on websites, Instagram, demo reels, IMDb? How important is that as an actor to keep?
I feel like less is more. You know, when you got
Okay.
something important to
I
say,
agree.
like, you know,
Yeah.
my social media page, they're re-showing my Lifetime movie next week. So a couple days before, I might post that. Just be selective, because when it's just constant, it gets,
Sure.
It's also
Yeah.
just from a marketing perspective, I'll tell you, like, the marketing rule for social media is 80% inform and entertain, 20% call to action. So if you apply that to your brand as an actor, if you're constantly going like, watch this movie I did, look at this thing I did, check me out in this, you're always asking people to do stuff to support you, that's not super interesting to your followers. So if you can think of yourself as like, you just wanted to kind of show who you are, be entertaining, inform them a little about who you are without constantly having to like sell yourself or sell your projects, and then sprinkle a little of that in there.
and you
every
can
now
have
and
an actor page and a personal page.
Yeah.
Just,
A lot of
again,
us do.
We find you, so just be careful, you know.
And also jumping off of what Erin said too, like acting can be like a platform for you to have that voice to speak about things that are important to you. But like she was saying, like, and we support that too. You know, we like if you have something to say and you want to say it and you want to speak out for certain things, that's awesome. And you know, like as agents, you know, especially if we know, like that's part of the relationship, right? You don't kind of have to come out of the gate, you know, just
guns blazing.
guns blazing about this. We'll get to know you about that from the agency standpoint, because like we know that certain actors, okay, this person's really passionate about this, or we know like they'll talk to us like, hey, I'm really passionate about this kind of cause. I would like to go out for shows like this because that's in line with sort of my vision or what I think my calling is, and that's awesome. But like she was saying,
But know who you are, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
everyone thinks that they're Brad Pitt and Nicole Kidman. I'm sorry, but everybody's not, you know, so be
Hey, what?
really, and listen to your agent about that. Know the type, yes, of course, we all want those leading roles, but we're not all leading people. So find what your niche is, find what's important, where he can cast you, or he can, you know, represent you the best.
If you look at it this way, guys, honest to God, there's so many different characters out there that are written for so many different personalities. And if they don't know your personalities and you're faking your personalities, it comes across as you're faking stuff. Let them know who you are, so they can make, or we can make, a very qualified decision based off of who that person is. And what she's saying is that we look at all of it.
It's all about, and I keep hearing this, it's finding yourself and being true to who
Be
you really
honest
are.
about it and be comfortable with it.
It
And
is
trust
what
it.
we strive for every day in our
Honesty,
acting, is
yeah.
finding that truthfulness
Yeah.
and integrity as
And in
we
life
portray
sometimes.
ourselves in the
Yeah.
in
I
our
get cast
character.
in lawyers and cop roles, and I studied to be a CSI. My parents are cops. Go figure. Like,
Yeah,
of
right.
course, I'm going to be cast in those roles.
which
Yes.
which also
Well,
doesn't mean
yeah.
that you can't branch out into other things, but especially as you're sort of like
But know who you are.
Exactly,
right?
yeah, 'cause
Well,
like-
you have to treat it as like a safety net, right? Like I say to Drew all the time, his safety net is cowboys, cops, and coaches. Like he
Captains
will,
now.
captains now apparently, but he is very, very likely to book roles that are cowboys, cops, and coaches. That's not to say that he's not a great dynamic actor and can't play a million different things. You know,
Right.
Christian Bale, who can play Batman and Dick Cheney, you know what I mean? Like, it's not to say you're not a dynamic actor, but it is to say that you do have to know what your safety net is. You do have to know the things that, like, when you walk in a room, a casting director is going to look at you and go, you know what, she's this type. Because that's just what we do. We put people in a box until we prove that we can go into other boxes.
And it's great. Use it. Like, it's
Yeah.
great. Don't
Do the work.
Don't resist
And,
against
Well,
it.
let's move forward a little bit now, and let's say we are cast in a project.
Okay.
We've got a role. How can I make sure my contract is fair?
Ooh.
Especially if I'm non-union.
Your contract with the producers?
production.
Non-union?
Production, yeah.
Ooh.
Well, that's where he comes in.
Don't
So
sign
what
it.
happens is, let's say I cast 2 of his 8 actors.
Right.
I send him a long form, which is about 9 pages, and it has everything in there, from what you can do on set, what you can't do, what your photo approvals. his job is then to go through it and redline it and come back to me and say, well, Stacia, like, this person usually gets 70, 55, or, you know, so then there's a negotiation going on between us.
Right.
And then once we agree to it, sometimes I gotta go back to the studio, and sometimes they say, no, absolutely not, and then it's up to him to decide, to talk to his client, to see if his client still wants to take the contract. But
Right.
before they come on set, you are not going on camera for me, unless this contract between the agent
Right,
is
so-
signed.
Because
Again.
nobody wants that.
Right,
No. It's
again,
not
and
gonna
it's
happen.
important to have that strong relationship with your agent then, to be able to have those conversations as you
Right.
go
I
through
don't
that
ever
process,
sign a
right?
contract when they send me, say it's done and I'm booked. They negotiate everything out. When I show up in my trailer, the contract is sitting there for the workday. And then I fill all that out and stuff, but they've already figured all that
Your
out.
agent should
based
know
off
all of your
Every-
personal
Yeah,
parameters.
and
Based
that's-
off of what we want.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we do, you know, it's different commercially, and I'm in the film and TV department, so I can't speak for commercially as much. But as far as, you know, like, you know, we're gonna look for, like you said, you can self-submit, and that's where kind of like, I don't want to say,
It gets
I
sticky.
don't want to say danger, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, it gets like
Have
having an agent
someone
is,
in your life.
Exactly, yeah, you know. Again, networking, like, if you
Yeah.
don't have an agent, like, oh, I know a guy, but I know a guy, or I know
Yeah.
someone who is
But that's not
in
to
it,
be
you know?
confused with a SAG contract, which is a one-pager, and that's easy. That you'll get
Yeah.
on set. That you
Yeah.
have to sign.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the long form, the 9-pager.
The negotiating all the little ins
Yeah.
and outs and rights and
Or
So-
travel
like
and
what kind of so that's a big part of
trailer,
kind of what we do in the film and
credits.
TV department with our team. You know, a lot of what we do is, you know, when we get offers from, you know, casting, we say, okay, hey, we want to hire this person, and it'll go through. There's a whole logistical.
You should talk about
process.
that, about the deal
Yeah,
memo,
yeah,
like a
please.
deal memo.
oh yeah.
Sure. Okay. So a lot of what we do with that is when we get. Bye, Drew.
Bye, Drew.
I've heard this.
He's like, Ryan reads my deal memo. I don't need to learn this
So,
part.
so say I want to hire Erin,
Yeah.
and Ryan is her agent. So let's just say she read for me, and out of 30 people, I was like, I want her, I want her, I want her. So then I send him a deal memo that basically just says the very basics.
Mhm.
And then he can come back to me and say, no, 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 she gets scale plus 20, or
Yeah.
she gets, and then we negotiate on the deal memo.
And the deal memo is basically just like, what's their rate? How many days are
Basic
they
terms.
working?
What kind
Are
of
we
trailers do they
traveling
have?
them in and
Yeah.
out?
Are they local hire? Are they, you know,
Right,
regional
right.
hire?
What's
Are
their
they-
credit? Are they going to be like an and or a with credit, or are they going to be a single card credit?
What
Like,
kind of
it's
trailer
simple.
are they going to get on set?
Yeah.
Accommodations. You know, start work. When does it
Just
start?
what is
when does it
them
work?
looking
when
on the
they
film
finish?
going to look like?
Yeah,
That's
it's very
level one.
basic. Yeah.
And then level 2 is the long form, which is based on that deal memo, which will have, it shouldn't have anything other than like you can't drink on set, you can't do drugs on set, you can't, you know, like the basics.
Just sort of
Um,
ethics and
yeah.
yeah.
Or if there's certain roles that require, like, you know, if there are certain roles that require like nudity or partial nudity or things like that,
That's a whole
that's like
Yeah.
that also goes into
And
that
also
level
clauses
of, like,
that would allow the production to let the actor go
right.
if there are issues, things like that. Sometimes are in there,
And that's
in general.
and kind of like, you know, wrapping that up is like when you have an agent like that, like when you do have representation, like trust your agent. You know, they have their your best interest in mind as well, because when actors make money, the agency makes money. It's all a group effort. So like if, you know, and sometimes like if we'll have an actor come back and we'll give them the offer, we'll say, hey, all right, so we've negotiated past the deal memo. We say, okay, cool, we'll put it to the actor. We send the deal memo down to the actor. And the actor will sometimes be like, well, can I have like a little more here? Can we get a little more there? Sometimes the agent will ask for that because they know the pedigree of the actor. Or
All
they
the
know
time, the agent wants for that.
because again, you know, actors make money, agents, you know, but like,
agents trying to up that commission.
But sometimes
Right.
as a producer, I'll say, listen, this is bottom line, I'm telling you, I cannot go back to that.
and that's
Like,
what I was
this
gonna,
is-
that's what I was gonna jump off of
Okay.
too. Sometimes there's nothing that we can do. So if there's like a bottom line like that,
Yeah.
then like,
And we've
that's
all,
it.
we've all had to do that as producers, where we've had to say to an agent, look, we want your guy, but if we can't come to these terms, we have a million other business decisions we have to make as producers.
because there's
So
people
we
breathing
have
down
to
their
move
necks.
on.
There's people breathing down casting centers.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
and
it's all a chain.
ultimately, then that's your agent's job. Your agent should never make that decision for you. That would be your agent's job to then come to you and go, look, they're gonna move on if you don't budge
And guys,
on
we
this.
always have a second and a third choice. We
Yeah,
always have
and
a
that's
second
your
and a
agent's
third
And
job
we
to
have
then come to
remember
you
that
and
as
say,
actors as
yeah,
well, right?
say
And I
they
think
have a
that's-
backup, they're not desperate, they're gonna move on. Are you willing to budge on this or not? And then that's up to you.
Okay.
And sometimes they just like the script enough to go, you know what, I'm willing to sacrifice. And tell the agent, go, let's sacrifice this, I'll do it for this, let's do it. I
I
like it
do-
enough, I like the material enough.
I do
That's
want to,
what
while
we
we're
do.
talking about contracts, because I know that we've had, like I've had a couple actors in my classes who've had questions about agency contracts. And like termination clauses, what to, I guess like just
Don't
a
sign 'em.
breakdown of like what to look for and what to be aware of when you are signing an agency contract, because since then you don't have your agent to make sure you're protected. How
Right.
do you
Especially
protect
if
yourself?
you're non-union and you're not signing the SAG contract,
Right,
which has
yeah.
certain things that have to be in there.
Yeah, so, yeah, that is, it's sticky.
You guys put a clause in, which I love, that you got, it's a 2-year rider, then you renegotiate, or you look at it, re-upping it and stuff from there. And so you're not locked in indefinitely. And also, you have a clause in there, which I love, that if you don't give me an opportunity, or X amount of opportunities within a period of months, then I have the right to
To terminate your
cancel,
contract.
terminate
And
my
that's
contract.
standard, guys, that's
And
Yeah,
that's
that should be
standard.
standard.
That's a quality agency and
Yeah.
stuff, so you need to look for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because
think
again,
it's
I can only speak for, our agency for that, but yeah, like you were saying, we have that kind of termination clause that we want to make sure, because again, we want to make sure that we're working for you and that, the actor is also, helping us out. It's that give and take, and if it's not the best fit, it's not the best fit, but those kind of clauses are going to help us to determine, like at a certain point, because we want it to be productive for everybody.
Yeah, and I
So-
think the key message is whatever you do get into in terms of the contract, always have someone in the industry that knows.
Look at it.
Yes.
Look at the
Get a second
contract prior to
opinion.
signing
Don't
it.
just get excited that an agent wants to sign you and sign your life away. Get a
Right.
second opinion. And any contract that you sign, it is going to be a negotiation. There are going to be things that you sacrifice and that they sacrifice. That's how contracts work. But with an agency contract, I would just say make sure that there is an out for you if you're not working.
Yeah. Like,
Because that's your livelihood.
Like,
and,
Ryan,
and
could you
to
tell us what the
sacrifice
standard
that,
is between a union and non-union? Like, is it 10-15, union, non-union in Georgia?
percentages,
Yeah.
you mean? Like commission?
I think
I
it
don't
is.
know.
top of my head, that sounds right, but I'm not
I think it's
sure off the
right.
top of
I
my
think if you're
head.
looking at a contract and stuff, the normal on principal photography on steel side of it, it may go up to 20, but non-union works 15, union works 10. And then you look at the contract like we're talking about, any legitimate, you guys are SAG, what's the word for it? SAG?
SAG-AFTRA?
Sorry.
SAG-AFTRA, but
SAG-AFTRA.
you're an agency that,
You're a
Or a
SAG
SAG.
qualified agent.
yeah, so
Yeah,
you're a
yeah,
SAG
yeah,
qualified
yeah.
agency. So a
Franchise.
SAG qualified agency has to carry certain standards with it to carry their SAG qualified agency, right? Now, there's a lot of SAG qualified agencies in town. There's a lot of them that will lock you in for a lifetime to own your rights and everything else. That's what you never want to do. Because then you come into a struggle if you actually do something big and you try to get
Well,
out.
but
they
not
can hold
even,
you to
not
something and
even
you have to fight it.
lifetime, like even if they have, I would say, and you guys,
Not the
you
network,
disagree.
just-
But I would say even if they have like, you have a 2-year with People Store. But within that 2 years, there's still the even more reduced clause that if they're not getting you work over a certain period of time, you have the ability to leave. Because the thing you wouldn't want is like, oh good, it's only a 2-year contract, so if it's not working out, but if your agent is not getting you, if you are, I'm gonna say this, if you are working your butt off, and if your materials are up to date, and you're doing everything you should be doing, and your agent is still not getting you any opportunities, there should be an option in that contract that you can move on to somebody who will, because you're working too hard to be locked in to something. Sacrificing 2 years is an eternity.
Because we look for that as well. If
Yeah.
people are not happy with the agency that we're with, we'll see their resume, so we'll see, okay, you were repped by this agency. Does your contract allow you an out? And sometimes
It doesn't.
they don't,
Right.
and so that's
And
why you
there's
gotta look for
nothing you
those
can
those
do.
termination
So I
clauses.
just wanna
Yeah.
make sure that we have, keep
yeah.
moving on. So
Yeah.
we're gonna move forward
We had a
now,
lot of
and we've
different-
got all of our
I know.
contracts signed.
Are you saying we're talking too much, Michelle?
No, did I tuck my ear?
You're not
And
better.
keep quiet and watch. You are going to learn so much about filmmaking, so much about what to do and what not to do by sitting in the background. Yes, it's boring. Yes, bring a book. Yeah, but I'm telling you, you get bumped up. It's so vital in your education. It is so vital in your education.
Learning the lingo.
Now, don't,
all
you know,
of it.
unless you love it, don't get stuck doing it all the time. But you're going to meet people, you're going to learn. And I always say you meet the same people climbing that ladder as you do falling down it. So it goes right
Yeah.
back to this whole, this whole ecosystem of us helping each other. And you're going to make friends on set, and you're going to hear about short films, and you're going to hear about classes, and you're going to hear about, it's so important.
And also, I think that, we were talking about this in the beginning, coming from contribution, giving back. And I think if you're on set and you're coming from contribution and you're there to be helpful and to get the production done, that's going to be noticed, even if you're just a background extra.
What's even more noticed is when you're not, when you're resistant to that, you can get fired as a background.
That's an X.
tell you that.
You can get fired as an actor.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'll give a quick example of somebody who has been successful because of how they deliver on set, and that is we did a movie called New Life. Drew and I produced a movie called New Life, and we had Terry O'Quinn on set, who a lot of you guys know from Lost. He played John Locke on Lost, so he's Emmy winner, Golden Globe winner. The guy he
Which
was
we
in
got.
Tombstone, like he's been working.
We got, because we
Forever.
lost the other person and we needed to find somebody. We had the relationship.
He was a
that you're
quick
talking
last
about
minute, give us
to
a
grab.
guy.
He's like, please, God. He liked the script. He's like, yeah, I'll give him
Yeah,
a break.
he
Let's
was
go
a
do
give
it.
us a guy, and he was better than the guy and we lost.
It always
so,
turns out that way.
yeah.
Always.
But Terry, I mean, he was on our set for 2 days. He had a total of 3 scenes. It was a very minor role for him. And he showed up on set and, first of all, knew everyone's names when he got there. So he walked in the trailer, saw me, and goes, "You're Erin." And I said, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "You wrote the script." I was like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "Great script." Like, immediately, he had done his research and made himself friendly to everyone on set.
He knew the
which
character
was
better
amazing.
than I wrote it.
Also-
I mean, literally just,
Yeah, he
enhanced it
also
so much.
stayed on set one of his days during a scene where we were shooting 7 other actors on one side of the camera, and he was the only actor on the other side of the camera. So we had a bajillion different
He's such an
setups
amazing guy.
with him off set, and he stayed
read-
on
he
set
read?
and read his 2 lines.
Aww.
That's
Hours.
rare. That's rare.
It's rare.
Yeah.
It's so special. And I kept saying to him, I was like, "Terry, we got you a nice trailer. It's got Wi-Fi and TV. You can go." Because we pulled out the stops.
but he cared, you know.
That's
But he
about
was like,
giving
"No, no,
back
no."
in the scene.
Yeah. He was
God,
like,
give
"No."
back.
He was like, "I love being on
Contribution.
set. I love watching you guys do your thing. I'm going to be here. I don't want to let some PA read my lines. I want to read my lines, you know?"
Oh,
And it
Terry.
just like, I know, he's legitimately
I'll
the
tell you right now,
greatest.
you know
So,
why, well, you know why
generosity
teams-
on set.
You know-
Always generosity. It's not about you. It's about the bigger picture and the bigger story. There are
Yep.
150 people on that set who are sacrificing and working really hard to make the thing happen. They're all working parts of the body,
And
and
every
just
minute's a
because
dollar.
you're the face doesn't make you any more important. And so realizing that you're contributing to the story as a whole and all of you contribute equally will keep you super humble, and also just remembering the odds that you're lucky to be there
Right, because
will
like,
keep you super
because if
humble.
Drew,
someone's
I really want to hear this from you. I mean, what are your top expectations of actors and crew that you're working with? You know, we were talking about do's
I
and
just,
don'ts.
I mean, but I mean, to me, honest to God, it comes down to, I've been very blessed and lucky in my career. I got my SAG card as an extra on a Ford commercial that put me as a principal, like she was talking about. I was just an extra. It's my first job I was like ever a part of, and I got lucky. And I walk up and they're like, "Hey, you look good. Stand behind this truck and push this button." You know, I'm like, "Okay." And then they put me on camera, and next thing I know, I make $40,000 over 3 years and get my SAG eligibility. I'm like, "What? This is amazing. What does this mean?" And then I just started, you know, and going.
This is so easy.
It's acting. And but the point is, the point is, really the point is, those who are in this industry, they know how hard it is. 1% make $36,000 a year, right? So a point of that percent are the big boys that you see constantly on television and everything else. So if you imagine how many people are trying to do this industry, 1% is making $36,000 a year, then just show up and do your job, enjoy what you do, love it, and go, you know what, I'm happy to make this money, and go on. If you're not, go do something else.
And
Because
definitely-
anybody can make $36,000 a year doing something else. Luckily, I've built a career in relationships and all this stuff over the last,
Way more.
15,
You
16
can make
years
36,000 a year at
to make more than that.
Yeah, but let's go through the
But it's
basics of what you do on set.
Yes,
when you get to
please.
set.
Thank you.
So when you come to set, you're going to be talking. The second AD usually will be the one who has called you and said, "This is your call time," and he may call you 3 or 4 times and say, "It's changed." Just go with the flow. Just go with it. Honestly, don't complain. Just go with it. That just means we're a little bit behind. And I'm the type of director. I don't know how you work. Because I'm an actor, I do not like seeing people wait. I do not
drives
want
me
them.
crazy.
Some directors want you there at the crack of dawn, even though you're not going out till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not that director. So I may call and I may push your call time, just so you can sit at home, you can learn your lines. You show up. Go to the second AD. You'll be showed to a trailer if you're on one of her sets. You'll be showed to a room if you're on one of mine. It just means a private room. You're going to go through hair and makeup. I typically, as a director, would then come in when you're in hair and makeup and start talking to you about the character, anything you want to do. I have like a 3-take rule. I usually get my scenes within 3 takes. So what I ask for you is after we do the blocking, we'll block. If you have a question as you're blocking, like, why would my character go here instead of there? I'll explain it. Oh, because I'm, on scene 42, when this person comes here, because what happens is when you're an actor, you're just thinking about your own part. So I, as the director, I'm thinking about everybody. So it might not make sense to you as why would you walk out the door and go left, but it makes sense to me. So those are the times to ask those questions, and not like, well, I prepared for it to go this way. It's just, I'm curious, why do you want me to go left or right?
That's my motivation.
So that's called blocking, and that also is the DP is next to me and the script supervisor. So we're all talking about where the camera's going to go, where the lighting is going to go, what your movement is. So then after that, we usually break, send you back to hair and makeup, and then I will come and talk to you about what, like for instance, like what you felt. Did it feel comfortable? You walk into the door. If there's any change, that's the time to talk to me about it. And then I usually just say, okay, let's do it my way, the first way. Let's do it again, my way. And then the last take, if it's something you really want to do, then of course I want you to do it, as long as it stays within the realm. Because if it's something that you feel inside that your character truly would do, that's going to come out in screen. And I would say 90% of the time, that's the take I end up using. When it's right, when it's the right,
But you're
don't take
able
over.
to be that generous because of them taking your direction.
Right. Now, I don't know, we've never worked together, but I assume you're similar to me, but there are a lot of directors you don't question. So just kind of go in, you feel it out, just say, may I make a suggestion? But that's the time to talk to the director. Now, sometimes we're so busy, we're literally setting a scene that has fire in it. So we can't like break away. But usually as a director, I'll have at least a phone call with you prior or a Skype call or on set at some point before you start shooting so that we can have those conversations. So
I will say too, in terms of like your relationship with the director, be a little aware of like how you serve the story. Actually be a lot aware of how you serve the story, but it's the situation where like if there's a scene that is this really intimate scene between the 2 leads and they're sitting at a table at a restaurant and it's super intense and they have tons of dialogue and you're the server that comes over and is like, here's your check, sir, please don't bother the director with like, why would my server do it like this? Why would my character, I just feel like my character, like she's going through stuff at home, her husband just left, like I feel like she would be very much more upset about what this conversation is at the please don't waste the director's time with that
Somebody
stuff.
screwed up
But
the
yeah,
casting.
she's talking about the like
Big
meaty
roles.
roles, but knowing that even in the big meaty roles, you are still there to serve the story.
Yeah.
Even a Meryl Streep movie is not about Meryl Streep. It's a story, and she is one of the elements telling us.
I'll tell you another thing. Like you were talking about stuff. the show I just got off of, it moves so quickly and so fast. I didn't get to talk to the director. I had to talk in the makeup chair, take the opportunity with the actors that's been on the show and go, how's the show? How's the flow? What are you guys doing? So how loose is it? Can we go off a little bit? Are we free to do
But he would have
this?
told you.
Oh, but so then I go to the director while we're setting up and we block, and after the blocking and stuff, I go, so just tell me how loose is the show? I have my things I always ask now because I've been on the shows long enough. But we never had a chance to talk. We talked in between takes, and we just talked about life. It was normal life, and he was like, I like this, change this, let's do this, do that. But it was my job, because he booked me off of my tapes and in person, to carry that character, and he trusted to do that.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
part
yeah.
of it. You know, as a director, we're sitting in that room. If we say, you're our person, we see something in you, and I don't want to tell you what to do, because we see something in you. I want to be surprised
And
at
trust
what you
me,
do.
we'll tell you if it's not
Oh,
what we
we'll
want.
tell you.
We'll totally tell you. It does not. So I'll just do one
Yeah,
quick story.
please.
So on my Netflix movie, the lead character was a bad guy, and he was a method actor. Does anyone know what a method actor is? Okay.
They're the greatest.
I loved him, but he intimidated a lot of the other actors. To me, he gave me every note I needed. So there was a day player, and he terrified her.
Oh, no.
Terrified her. And so I'm watching the screen and I'm like, uh-oh, something's going on here. So I pulled her aside and I was like, what's going on? And she started like shaking and crying. And I was like, quick, let's go. And in that moment, I wanted her to use that because she was so scared of him as a
It's
person.
so natural, yeah.
But I would not have called it, like, as I saw it, I never saw that role being like this, but because the actor was like this, I was like, we're gonna go. You good with going? You good with? And she was like, I think so. I go, hold it. Let's go. And let me tell you, it was brilliant. But I had to. I could see as a filmmaker there was something wrong with her. So instead of calming her down, and I was just like, this is brilliant. So in those moments, that goes to using it, like using.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're the waitress, bring in a glass of wine, don't cry. You know.
Hey, Clint Eastwood scenario, he rolls on rehearsals and he'll say, cut, all right, moving on. And they'll go, what? We got what we need.
3 takes.
Because you're the most natural in those moments. And he's like, got what I need, let's move on.
Okay, so now I want to get back to the business of being an actor and putting yourself out there to get the attention of talent agents, casting directors, producers, and directors. So clearly having footage of yourself is very important. And we've talked about producing, making your own content to get access to that footage. But outside of that, how can I get footage from your project? What's the best way to ask for that? What's the etiquette of asking for that
It
footage?
should be in your contract. I mean, it should first and foremost be in your contract.
If you're a one-liner waitress, you're not going to get it. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to rip it
It's
off
just
of the
we
movie
have
when it
so
comes out.
many things going on. But if you're a day player,
Right,
that's where his job comes in. I want a copy of the film when it's done.
okay.
If
And do
not-
they pursue it, the talent agents?
Yeah, I'll remember.
It's a case-to-case basis, but yeah, we'll negotiate things like that.
Especially if the role that you've done is something that your agent is excited about you being able to add to a reel. If it's something different that they don't have for you yet, your agent will then be even more sort of aggressive about going after that
TV's
footage
harder
for you,
because you're
they
looking at-
need
yeah.
it to sell you just the same way that you
Again, it's
need
all
it.
about being marketable, like you were saying,
Yeah.
like especially like okay, if you're doing because like most of what we have going on episodically, at least anyways, in Atlanta is drama. We have drama. Comedy not as much, but like so if you book a role that's like if you're used to doing all these like dramatic sort of intense roles, but you book something that's on the comedic side, then yeah, we're gonna want that because like we know
That's what
we
you're
know
selling.
that you can do that. And you know that you can do that, but casting is not necessarily on other projects is not going to necessarily know that you can do that. So we want to like again make
Put
you
it
as
on a
marketable.
reel or it didn't happen.
Exactly.
If you guys are getting to the point where you're doing a guest star on Resident, it's his job to, but if you're talking about like student films or
Right,
films just to get up and going, again, I would implore you to put it in your contract, and it takes so long to get stuff done, guys. I mean, the edit bay, it takes
Be patient,
so
especially with
long.
independent stuff.
And I want to
Yes.
I want to go back to the
Yes.
independent
Be
thing.
patient.
Here's the thing, guys. on the independent side of it, do your homework. If you're not sure about the director or producer and stuff, ask for the edit cut, see what they've done in the past, see if it's quality, whether or not you can use it or not, and then you make the decision whether or not you want to waste your time or not waste your time. You know,
Yeah,
it's
because your
based
time
off
is
of
as
what you
valuable as
want.
theirs is.
Yeah.
You know, like we don't want you going out for just like anything. You know, it's like
Yeah, here's one thing I will say. I know that this happens a lot, which is like these filmmakers, they come to you as an actor, they think you're super great, they want to make a movie or a short film or whatever, they don't want to pay you, but they're like, but I'll give you the footage and you can have it for a reel, and then like a year goes by and their movie isn't done and you don't have that footage. Unfortunately, that's a gamble you have to take.
It's worth
because
taking,
you have
though.
it is worth taking
Because you get the
because you have no
You do,
recourse
yeah.
other than harassment to try and get that footage and stay on top of them and stay after them.
Or you just take the experience, say, you know what,
But
y'all
yeah,
get the
you have
experience
the
and they enjoy
credit.
it.
You have
Yeah.
the credit, and
You feel
hopefully you can stay on top of them and be like, "Yo, I noticed you haven't put the project on IMDb yet. Can you put it on IMDb at least? Like, even if it's not complete, put it as in post, like something, so I can put the credit on my IMDb." But you just have to kind of stay on those people because your agent probably didn't get you that job since it was free, and it's probably not at a professional post house or
Right.
anything like that. So it's just one of those things where you have to finagle those relationships, and you have to decide at the end of the day before you do the project. Would I do this even if I never got this footage?
yeah, you have to treat it like
Yeah.
that.
And what,
That's how
and
you have
what
to
makes
treat
up a good reel? And let me preface that with, we were talking about YouTube. Is it better to have one edited reel, you know, that's 2 or 3 minutes long showing different parts, or is it better to have a YouTube channel where you put up, you know, I can play a comedy mother, or I can play a dramatic lawyer, you know, have those
I have
clips
both.
separated?
I
You
have both. I have reels that are just show me as a reporter or a cop, and then I have a longer reel.
Yeah.
I have both.
It depends on the submission for what, because like,
Yeah.
okay, so a lot of what we do, you know, when we submit people, or big part of my job.
You
is
guys
I-
do it out of Actors Access and breakdowns, right?
Yes, and a lot of people will do it themselves, but we also make sure that we have everybody's reels on file.
Like, you
Okay.
can break it down in drama,
So you
comedy.
cut
Exactly,
them
yeah.
if
You
you
can
need.
have a general purpose reel. That's awesome. Because again, like if it's for a general project, you want to say,
It
okay,
just shows
show
your
me your
best work.
versatility. Exactly.
Right.
Then that's gonna be awesome. If you're going out for like a really dark, like an HBO show or something like that, then like if you have just a drama reel or just something like that, just kind of again keeping with the personal brand that we were talking about earlier, it's kind of along that same kind of vein. Like target what you're, aim for what you're going for.
Or if your look changes drastically, like I'm super blonde in real life, like, and I dye my hair dark, so I have my normal reel, but within the last year, I have a separate reel where my hair is red.
So that's
So-
important too when your
For-
appearance changes.
I think so.
Drastic.
Headshots as well.
Yeah.
Headshots
Yeah.
as well to reflect that kind of.
I mean,
Okay.
not minor, like drastic.
Yes.
You know,
But
like
I
if you had a
think-
big beard and then
yeah.
suddenly you shave it off.
Because we don't want to
Drastic hair
misrepresent
color
you to
change.
casting, because like if casting sees that that's an older reel and like, hey, this person's hair color is different, like, are they willing to dye it? And like, well, they just dyed it, so I don't know. You want to be really upfront about that. So yeah.
Sure.
I
But it's-
do think it's important to have like the basic, what we think of as the actor's reel, right? Which is like 2 minutes of just your best
The best.
stuff. Like
And
your
don't
best
you
of
pick
your
it, have
best.
somebody else pick it.
Have somebody else tell you what your best stuff
Yeah.
is. Yes.
Like, I'm glad you
And-
think that that's the best, but
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
And also, like, hear from your agent, because your agent should be familiar with your body of work.
They're selling
So
you.
before you go to pay to have your reel cut, ask your agent, like, hey, do you have anything, or here's some scenes I'm thinking about putting on my reel. Which ones do you think I should put on there? Because they're the ones who are putting you out there they know what kind of roles they're putting you up for, and they also know what feedback you may have gotten in the past from casting.
we had
So
I
Sorry.
have
They can
another
speak
question
into
about reels. So let's say we have some phenomenal class footage, or we've done an audition in the past, which is amazing. Do those go on reels, or do those go on YouTube? Where do they go?
auditions, no.
Never,
No,
because
for
it's
sure.
not
No,
your,
no.
you could get sued, it's
Right,
not your.
it's not
your
released
copywritten
material.
It's not your
If you wanted to do a
Especially-
monologue on tape to show your personality and everything else,
Yeah.
I think that's something that Access has started to do, and just to help people give.
If it's lit well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure
It has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Make
But
sure
as
you
far as-
sound good and you're lit flattering.
Well, as far as, because like you were saying, especially before you get a real cut, if you haven't gotten a real cut, talk to agents or talk to people in the industry who know, because like, yeah, we don't want to see necessarily like an audition of yours, because especially, I mean, and it depends on the show that you've gone out for, but like, we have certain shows that they're dummy sides that we'll send out for, but still, like, there's NDAs that go along with that, like, we will not see your tape if you don't sign this NDA.
And I think it's a gray area in terms of like class footage. One, it depends on the quality of the footage. Two, it depends on the scene you were doing in class. And three, I think in general, I would say class footage probably not on a reel, but could be available if someone wants to see you do something you don't have on film otherwise.
Yes.
What was the-
Right? So if it's like, look, I have never actually done a movie where I've played a sadistic serial killer, so I know you can't see me that way, but I did this scene in class. Then ask your agent, like, I have it on tape, I did this scene in class where it was really dark and I was super creepy, like, should we send that? Could we send that? And let them
Right.
make
That's
that
a YouTube thing,
decision.
I think.
And that's
Yeah.
a
I
think that's a
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, so piggybacking off that, it's good to have that, but not in the reel itself.
Not
Because
what
like,
you present.
right, because like if so, it may come in a pitch scenario. Like if we see that sadistic serial killer role come out, and we're like, oh, this client would be amazing for that. Do you have that on your reel? No, but we do have a clip. So let your agent
Send
kind
the
of
clip.
send the clip, because like they have that relationship. You still want to put your best foot forward and let the agent side
And
kind of
there's
take care
no
of that.
there's no reason in today's day and age with modern technology for it to not be lit well or sound.
No.
There's no reason. And again, when you're competing against 300 people just to be seen, you gotta put your
Take
best
away
foot
the easy
forward.
nose.
Real quick,
Take
Erin,
away the easy
Stranger
nose.
Things, that, what's his name, that you just showed me, his,
Oh, Dacker Montgomery.
Dacker
Yeah.
Montgomery. Now,
Everybody's been
it's
talking
way
about his
over,
audition tape.
but
I
if
know.
you watch that
Oh,
audition
yeah.
tape,
Yeah.
it's lit very well, but you'll see it very
Earlier, that's not being in class, but if that's something that she loves to do, that it keeps those creative juices flowing.
Content
Yeah.
creation.
Yeah, and it's like it's
yeah.
keeping you sharp. It's getting you in front of a camera. It's getting you.
Just
know,
don't do
Yeah.
just I would advise you to not do audition copy, because that's
Yes.
copywritten and you just don't want to get
In
in
most
trouble.
agencies, if you're going through an agency and stuff, most agencies say, do not load it up on YouTube, do not
Yeah.
load it up on Vimeo.
But that stuff
Send
is a
it through
great way,
these platforms.
That
especially
happens.
with kid actors. Hiring a kid actor is a very different process because it just is. And so for even a casting director to be able to find her on YouTube and see what her personality is like and see how she lights up in front of the camera or how comfortable she is in front of the camera, that's all really great stuff.
Yeah, it's
I
probably not solely. It's not gonna get her there, but like it's
Right.
all supplemental. And
It
it's
can't
like
hurt.
yeah.
And it builds a following.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one.
Oh.
Is it okay to reach out to producers, directors, or casting directors directly, and how do I find their contact information?
No.
The yellow pages. We're in the book.
Yeah, listen, I think there's nothing wrong with when, like if you're tweeting, if you're watching,
Yeah,
a
that's
Lifetime
great.
movie or Hallmark movie, like, oh, this is, I
Twitter's
really
a
enjoyed
great
it. Yeah,
way to do it.
and in that way, we can respond, but no,
And you can
it's
build
not-
a rapport with people on Twitter. There's for people who especially are in like the public eye, there's a safety thing to Twitter, right? Like it still
Barriers.
feels removed,
Yeah.
and you really can build that rapport. Alicia Witt, who booked a
Yeah.
guest star role in The Walking Dead, she booked that role because she built a relationship with Scott Gimple on Twitter. Who was the showrunner?
But she
at the
did
time.
her
And
own
she's,
work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she
a
did her
great
job.
actress, and she's done
But
a
you clearly
ton
did
of
it in an
stuff.
appropriate manner.
Yeah.
But she and
Yeah.
Scott had been talking on Twitter for years about how much she loved The Walking Dead, and then she got this audition, and Scott knew who she was because they had built a rapport on Twitter. So there is definitely a way to do that. I personally don't mind. We have, like, for our production company, we have a website. We have a contact form on that website. I don't mind if actors submit information via that contact form. We have an opportunity on our website where you can subscribe, and we send out email blasts if we're doing castings or looking for scripts or things like that, because it saves us the feeling like we have to respond to every actor
Yeah.
that contacts us.
And we go months, years sometimes without jobs. So just
Yeah.
because we did films that are out right now doesn't mean we're actually working right this second. So when you're
Yeah.
bombarding us with like, hey, look at me or hire me,
Yeah.
it could be the wrong time.
But it doesn't mean we don't want to. We're out there trying.
Oh, every day.
Every day.
It never stops.
Not for lack of trying.
It never stops. But that also goes goes to show like where your relationship with your agent is.
Right.
So,
I love
you
you,
know.
man.
But I think if you wanna be able to try to, you can do the sort of throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. You know, you can email info@planb.com and hope it gets to Brad Pitt, but but it's probably not. And you know, you hear the one story and you think, well, it worked for them. It's probably not. But the thing to do is to come to events like this, where
Yeah.
there's a producer and director for Lifetime movies, and there's an agent, and there, you know, to come to events where you do get some face time and you can build a little bit of a rapport with someone, and that is a way. Go to casting workshops with casting directors. If you're not getting auditions, build a relationship with a casting director by regularly attending whatever workshops they're hosting.
Right, not necessarily just like reaching out, like if you find an email address or something like that.
Yeah.
Guys,
Don't
understand.
bombard them with, can you
Listen.
cast me? Can you cast? I
Listen.
saw that you're casting this. Can you cast
There's
me?
a lot to be said with gumption. There's a lot to be said with taking control of it, right? Don't do it in a creepy way.
Yeah.
Honest to God, because that's the problem, is that it's like, I have a dear friend, she's a writer, she's out in LA. She did call Plan B. And she called Reese Witherspoon's, and they said, we don't take unsolicited stuff. She goes, oh, I am repped. And they were like, oh, you are? Who you repped with? She goes, I'm repped by this person. Okay, pitch me. You know, but she took it in her own. So there is something to be said in the way you do it, but you have to understand the business. She would have not had that opportunity to pitch if it wasn't for her to say, I am repped by this person.
Yeah,
So
she
she did the
understands.
business. She did the work ahead of time to do it. But then she took her business in her own hands to make it move forward, because she knew that it was stagnant where it was.
She
and
didn't
wanted to
call
move it
Plan
forward.
B, and they said we didn't take unsolicited stuff, and she's like, well, I did write a short film 6 years ago that got
No, I
made.
mean, she,
You know,
but the
she's-
point is,
she's got real
know
stuff.
the business.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're calling one of us going, I want to be in your movie. Okay, I don't care. You know, I don't, because
I
my
do.
job is, no, but honest God, if you talk about what we're talking about and stuff, our job is to recoup money, right? On the producer's level, our responsibility is the money. We got to make that quality product so we can get the money back to the execs, and so that money can come back to us to do another one. And we have to figure out what sells that. You know, and so for you wanting to be in it, it's like, great, I love that you want to be in it and stuff, but I got to get this person in it so I can
You
make
just
it.
gotta
Yeah.
earn your stripes.
Yeah, you gotta
just
earn your stripes, and you do have to ultimately go through the proper channels. You can also go outside of the proper channels, but you still, ultimately, everyone's gotta go through the ringer a little bit, if that makes sense.
And sometimes the agency is the way to do that. If like you know, especially if it's a new client that we have, or one that we don't necessarily have as long-standing of a relationship with, and you see like that there's a breakdown that you can see for like a movie with like a certain actor or something, like, oh, I worked with that AD, or I worked with
Yep.
that actor before, and they loved me. Like a great way to do that is to go through the agent. So especially if it's a pitch scenario where casting didn't ask for that talent, but they have a prior relationship,
Send it
that
through
goes
the
to
proper
the agent.
channels.
Yeah, and especially it's always good to check with the agency about that kind of thing, because we don't want actors kind of going over our heads for that kind of thing, because we're there to work for you.
But also, how do we know if we are connected with someone who might be on a project? IMDb.
Oh, so that was my
IMDb.
next question. How important is
Stop it.
IMDb?
Vital.
sorry.
It's the most used app on my phone.
But don't like if you're like this third, person in the back of a post office. Don't put your own.
Yeah.
Don't if your background, don't put your own credit on there. That just looks tacky and it looks
Right.
like you're green. So
Yeah.
I would not put anything on IMDb unless you have a speaking part, because it shows that you're inexperienced.
But what you can use it for, especially if you have a pro account, which if you don't, it's worth investing in. It's like $100 a
the
year.
year,
I mean,
yeah.
that's less than $10 a month. You give up a Starbucks latte once a month and you can be on
Go
IMDb
in and
Pro.
look
So,
together.
what it can be beneficial for is it will show you projects that are in development in Georgia, projects that are in pre-production in Georgia, which
It'll tell you
means
who you're
these might
connected
be
to
casting.
on projects.
Yeah, it can tell you who you're connected to. It can give you contact information for agencies, talent managers, things like that. So just as a general, like, it is the hub. That's why it's called the movie database. It is the hub for all information, film and television, at least top line.
Yeah, it's the number one place we go to.
Yeah, while it doesn't have breakdowns and things like that, it's how you find out if there might be breakdowns for something coming out soon, so that you can kind of watch it. So if there is
And there's a
a
casting call on
director,
IMDb Pro.
there is. But if there is a director that you're just itching to get on their set, you just like, I don't even care, I just want to get on their set, right? Or something like that, then you can follow that director, you can see if they get something in development in the area, and you can call up your agent and be like, if something comes through for this, put me up, if anything is a match, like this is something I want, and
we
give them a
don't
red
mind.
flag.
We
Yeah.
like it when our talent's like, hey, I saw this is coming. Can you get me, like,
Yeah.
can you submit me for this? And like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Here's the thing
Means you're
about
hungry.
agencies, they don't get paid unless we get paid.
They
So
work
they
for
want to
you.
get paid, you
Yeah.
know,
Work
so they
for
want to
you.
And
work
if
for
you're
you.
passionate about a project and we
Yeah.
find something in there for you, like you just got to get it on our radar. But also on the IMDb thing, and like how important is it, kind of like going down the ladder a little bit too. Like if you're seeking representation still and you're not at that place yet, IMDb is a good way to like sort of package that stuff, because like some talent agencies will take self-submissions, some won't, like People Source referral only, but certain agencies, if you're getting together these packets, like an IMDb page, if we have a Skype with a new talent that someone's referred to us, we look at their IMDb page, and if you have your reel up there and you have your credits and your headshots are up to date and it's all right there and you've done it right, it's super easy for us, which makes us say that person's on top of.
They've got their stuff.
Plus,
Yeah,
you can
they
look
got
at
it
their
together.
roster. So, like, if I'm looking at a specific agent and I see that they have 12 blue-eye, redhead, 40-year-olds,
Yes.
I'm not going to go with that agent because they already have 12 of me. So you can. That's part of doing your homework, your due diligence. That's part of you investing in yourself. Is you see.
And it is part of that question of like, how do you know what agency to sign with? That's a great way, like looking on IMDb Pro and seeing, because IMDb Pro, like she said, does show all of the actors that they represent. And so you can look on there and not only can you see how many of you there are, you can also see the actors they represent, like what their star meter is.
What they're
Are they
working.
representing mostly actors
Does everyone
in
know
the
what a
top
star
one?
meter is? Do you
Yes,
guys know what a
does
star
everyone-
meter?
Who has an agent in the room right
So,
now?
all right.
Wow, that's good.
So quickly, IMDb star meter.
Who
the
wants an
short-
agent in the room right now? All right, some of you don't want anything. That's like BS.
So quickly, the short definition is how aware is the industry that you exist. That's the
And it goes
the
up
short
and down,
definition.
guys. It goes
and
up
it
and down.
fluctuates all the time. It changes all the time, but it's just, are people looking you up? Are people searching you? Have you worked lately? All of those things. Are you auditioning as a casting director searching for you? All those
And
things
the lower the number, the
fluctuate.
better. So,
Yes.
like
It's
5
like golf.
million means
Yeah.
nothing, but
Yeah.
42.
It's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
The relationships trump everything. It does.
Yeah. But that star meter, that's one of the things too that you can look at if you, so just so we know, like you talked about, yes, it would be amazing to sign with CAA in Los Angeles. Guess whose star meter they represent? Number 1.
Yeah,
So
good luck.
if they represent numbers 1 through 50, even if you could get signed with them, the likelihood you would ever get seen when you're also being sent up with 1 through 50 is pretty slim. So that's one of those things too, like when you're looking at signing with an agency, looking at not only who they represent, but also like what level of working actor do they represent and where do you fit in that? You know, is this a group of people that you could see this agent being like, yeah, I would work for them because they fill a hole that I maybe don't have other places.
We do have
Yeah.
one really eager young lady
Yes.
to ask you a question.
What if you don't like the director that you work with?
Tell them.
Welcome to
Just
Act.
tell them. You say, you are.
So you don't
If you don't like the director, you've got.
Stacia, you've directed a
yeah,
lot. You
yeah, I work a lot with kids too. What do you mean? Did you think like they were mean or really? That's sad
That's
to hear.
sad, yeah.
That's sad to hear.
Who
You
is it?
know,
We'll go take care of
I
it.
think it doesn't happen that often. It really doesn't. So I'm sorry you had that experience. But sometimes you just have to remember like they're under pressure and they've got the producers there and they're probably not trying to be mean. They're probably just trying to get their work done with
Yeah.
all these people. I think you just have to do the best that you can and try not to let it bother you personally because it's not about you personally. Trust me, if you weren't giving them what they needed, they'll direct you. That's their job is to
Yeah.
direct you. So
It's hard not to take
just
things
gotta
personally.
breathe,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and just
On
go for a
all
walk.
levels,
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
and
But you
just give
gotta
them what
learn
they
that.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about
Wait,
this.
she had one more question about
Oh,
IMDb,
wait.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
No worries. So on credits, this is totally a newbie question on IMDb. 'Cause,
That's fine.
I thought production had to give you a credit. You can make.
Yes. Oh, so if it's your first one, production does.
Okay.
But then if you have a few, then you can go up and you can
Add yourself.
you can
to,
add yourself, but I'll get a notification. And like I said, if you said that you're like juror number 67, I'm gonna take you off.
Right.
So and it's just a
Or that's why
bad-
you'll sometimes see next to someone's name like uncredited,
yeah.
and it's because like production didn't give that
Verify.
person a credit
Yeah.
because they're probably either not actually in the movie or they were an extra and things
So
like
don't
that.
put it on there unless it's like unless you had
Unless
a
it's real.
speaking role,
Yeah.
even a short film or that's fine.
Okay, so if he has one, and will you get it once the film comes out, or do you know?
In production.
It depends. Yeah, I mean, it really all depends on like.
And
call the
sometimes,
producer.
listen, sometimes on a
Yeah.
small one, you can go and go and edit the page and attach your page to that, and sometimes they will approve it. If it's a smaller production house, if it's a big production house, then
Email
yeah.
the producer and just say, hey, would you mind adding him to the IMDb? They will. They just forgot.
Okay, awesome.
On that, with the IMDb, and you're saying like non-speaking roles and stuff like that. Now, for like those reenactment shows that they do all the time down here in Tennessee, like would that be one that you could?
Yes.
That you didn't have
Yes.
to speak?
Yes,
Okay.
because you're
Yeah.
acting. I'm talking
Okay.
about like someone who's like in the background. You can't even
Okay.
see
So
them.
Yeah.
yeah. We're not speaking.
They were,
because we're like the main.
they were like at the
focus of
football
it.
You're
game and
cast,
Remember the
yeah.
Titans.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I was in Remember the Titans.
Would you guys recommend that when we are going to develop our IMDb, build our websites, do our reels, that we go and get professional advice on putting this stuff together? I mean,
We
I
have
know
a,
one of the services we offer here at Atlanta Hollywood is to actually help the actor look at their brand. So look at their social media. If they don't have an IMDb, help them get that set up with.
This business is all about learning. You're going to learn something new every day, no matter how long you've been in the business. So if you can get advice from people who know what they're doing, why not?
Even a consultation,
Why not?
just
Yeah.
to.
You guys do it, right? You guys help and.
that's what I was about to say. We have a resources page for our talent. If you go to peoplestore.net, we have on the resources page, here's places where you can get taped. Here's places where you can take classes. Here's places where
You
you
gonna
can
put
get.
Atlanta Hollywood Studios on?
It might already be up, I'm not sure. We're in the middle of website rebuilding.
Excuses.
We really are.
Typical agent, right?
We're in a restructuring period.
No, I honestly.
We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you.
I honestly haven't checked out the resources pages in a minute, but
You follow us on social media, so you validated us already.
we no, but I'm saying I'm in all seriousness, we do have like a list of specifically for reels, like here's where you can get your reel card.
And
or
that's
we
so
know this
you
guy.
don't even have to be with People Store to get those resources. Like that's a free gift that one of the top agencies in Atlanta is handing.
Yeah.
So I mean, you think about like everybody's, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And a lot of the agencies, I'm telling you, even if you're not signed with them, the truth is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the truth is, if they're an agency based in Georgia, a win for actors in Georgia is a win for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? And so even if you're not signed with them, if you can get an opportunity to meet somebody at a panel or talk with someone from that agency and just say like, hey, I need this done, who should I go to? Or I need, ask the questions, because they're not going to be like, I'm sorry, are you one of our clients? Because we don't divulge that. No, they're going to be like, you can go to the resources page on our website. It's free information. We want you to win, because a rising tide raises all ships.
Real quick, and I'll make it brief, I'm sorry. But how I got started, you got my first opportunity for a big opportunity when I met the Finn Cannons for the first time in New Orleans. I was in Dallas, Texas, and a friend of mine calls me, and I'm working one of my retail spots, and he goes, hey, I got this big audition in New Orleans, you want to ride with me? Call your agent. I go, okay. Called my agent, hey, can you get me in this audition? My buddy's going. He goes, I just can't call the casting director and get you in, Drew. And he goes, it doesn't work that way. I go, how's it work? He goes, well, it doesn't work that way. I hung up the phone, and I called my buddy back and go, hey, I can't go, man. My agent can't get me in, but go have a good time. I did a workshop that Linda McAllister, which I've been with forever, out of
great
Dallas,
agent.
Texas, and I did a workshop. She was there, saw me in that workshop, and 6 months later, I'm having this phone call and stuff, and he calls Linda McAllister and said, hey, I was going to ride down with Drew, but he can't go, his agent can't get me in. Is there anybody else can car ride with me? And Linda goes, oh, I know Drew. I'll get him in the room. She didn't ask for anything.
Not even
She just saw me and she goes, I don't want anything. He just needs to be in the room. And she didn't ask anything. That day, I walked in and fired my agent and signed her. And I've never, and I tell everybody, I told people, so I told everybody, I said, if you want me to leave Linda, I'm not signing with you, because she believed in me when no one else believed in me.
So
And and you know, she's still a pocket boutique agency and stuff, but I love her for that, and she allows me the freedom to grow. She doesn't hold anybody back, and that's great agencies. People Store and the other agencies, you find those that don't want to hold you back and control you. They want to let you go and grow because they grow with you.
Yeah, because
That's
again,
the
like,
beauty.
Because they don't want you to be number 5 on IMDb and drop them for CAA.
Okay, let's see, we're getting to the tail end here. All right, let's talk about headshots.
Yeah.
Because I think headshots, that is your first impression, really, isn't it? When you're going through the process, that's kind of your image is the first thing. How often should we have our headshots done? And how many different looks, characters, do we go crazy or do we focus on our 3 types? What are your recommendations?
I'll start. Yeah.
You start.
So, how often should you get headshots? That's highly dependent on like the age too. Like if especially with child actors, it's going to be more often, especially as you hit those kind of like teenage years. It gets kind of dicey, you know. And your agent will let you know if you need new headshots. I promise. You know, but as you know, it depends on the age range. I mean, it's not gonna. You don't take them every like
I
2
mean,
years.
Change
anytime-
dramatically, change your
Anytime your
Right.
look dramatically changes,
Yeah.
the thing with a headshot, and I can tell you from sitting behind the casting table a lot, is there is nothing more distracting than when we're looking at a headshot and the casting director says, this is who's coming in next. And we're like, great, yeah, she's got a great look. She looks awesome. And then the chick walks in the door and she is not the person
At all.
in the photo. And then I promise you, I'm not even listening to what you're saying. I'm not even watching your scene. I'm literally just
Trying
going,
to figure out who you
she's
are.
not the person in
Right.
the photo. Did we get the right person in here?
Because then that makes the agent
Oh.
look like they're not on top of their
Yes,
stuff because
yeah.
of that. Because so again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, like you said, if you dramatically change your look, or like, you know, because we had a client and she kind of like redid her hair like completely. She got like it braided, then she got parts of the side shaved, and it kind of
Yeah.
got colored. And
Not
she's
like
I
if you
got-
cut layers. That's
Right,
not the
no,
same
like
thing.
she got like completely revamped, and we're like, yes, new headshots, please. Or like, you know, if
Especially if you're going to carry it for a while.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like if you get a haircut, like, do I need headshots? No.
No.
Because
And
sometimes, you know, production will say like, well, we need to trim facial hair, and yeah,
All the time.
All
Yeah.
the time.
Character shots, are those important? Like
We
if
like-
we end up in a particular
You're a
role all the
character
time?
actor,
yeah, we typically recommend like 3 types. Like, you know, I'll just take, you know, like for the guys, you know, you want like sort of a more casual dad on the go kind of a look, or, you know, just next door neighbor kind of a look. You're gonna want like you're more professional, so if you can go out for like put on a collared shirt or something,
Business
maybe
attire,
yeah, business attire for
Corporate.
like corporate lawyer roles, things like that. And then you want kind of like we call them the Walking Dead shots. It's like, you know, like a
Maybe
more
facial
of a,
hair.
yeah, maybe
yeah.
scruffier, because like if you wear facial hair,
Deadpan.
it's good to have like multiple looks, shaven and unshaven for the guys, and then for the ladies it's like more of a
Yeah, that's
natural
true.
look. Yeah, for like the Walking Dead look, we don't
Yeah.
want you to look all glammed up. We want it to be more, you know,
Natural.
and so that way
End of the world. stuff.
because we change the headshot submissions for every role. Like if I'm looking at a breakdown and our team is gonna submit people for these, you know, roles, we're gonna look at the headshots that we have on file for you and be like, okay, so for this one we want like the next door neighbor look, boom, and that's it. Or if it's like a Walking Dead or something like that, we're gonna pull the rougher shot. Like it's very tailored the way we do it to whatever the role is.
I
So
like
you
that
want
rule of
versatility.
3 too, because that way you don't get too crazy.
Right.
And because headshots are not cheap.
No.
And so you don't want to get something so specific. If you're going
Right.
for like a character shot, don't think of it like a character from a skit on Saturday Night Live. Like this is a character that I play.
Like
More,
housewife,
yeah,
or, you
more
know.
just stereotype shots.
Shouldn't do
I
the hand
guess,
on the
is
hip, kind of like,
right, like if you're thinking of like should I change this up for more of a character role, like
Like
maybe a pair of glasses, like, you know,
Yeah.
like if you have longer hair, like pull your hair back for as like the more professional looks. Maybe try some with glasses, some without. And then what we do for our process of like our talent will come in and be like, okay, so I'm gonna get new headshots. Great. and they'll say, what do you want us to get? And then we'll say those 3. And then sometimes there'll be a more specific look, because we know what we have on file for them, and so we want something a little different. So we'll kind of talk with them about it, and then they'll do the session. And it also costs money to upload those photos to sites like Actors Access. So before they do that, then they also come back to us and they'll say, okay, here are ours. And like this week, I can't tell you how many actors have emailed us to say, here's all my headshots, and I go through and I'll look and I'll say, okay, I know that we have this on file and this on file, but we need these looks. And they'll wait for our picks, and we'll say, okay, to try to save you money, we want these 4 or these 5. Upload those, but don't, so it's.
And if your look changes, let's say you get cast in one of my movies and it doesn't film for 6 weeks, and if your look changes, you've got to call us. You gotta let us know, because you could get fired. I mean, I had a guy show up one day and he had a beard, and then he showed up the next day or 2 days later and he'd shaved his beard, and I had to cut him from the movie because even though I shot him on 2 different days, the movie was seamless. He was going upstairs and downstairs, so I had to fire him. Like, so if you get cast.
And that's a lot of money for makeup to go and put that beard back on and stuff, and it doesn't look as real. So.
And sometimes that's in the negotiations.
It's like a
too.
writer,
Yeah, like we'll have like, especially like if we get like, sometimes we'll get avail checks for certain actors, which is not an offer, but like if we get avail checks for them, then we'll say like.
It's a really good thing.
It's a good thing. So you get an avail check. Do not cut your hair.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't do it. Don't
Stay
cut
exactly
your hair.
like you
don't
are.
shave. Don't cut your hair. Don't do anything. Just wait a second. Because like, and that was something too that we work with on a daily basis. We had a client this week that is, being eyed for a couple different projects, and the hair has to change drastically. So a lot of our Friday afternoon, one of our team members was like going back and forth with this actor, being like, Can you like bleach your hair for this, and then can you?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
All
The
right, hold
answer
on.
is
And then-
always
yeah,
yes.
and then you got to go back to casting. Like, yes,
wanna
you
work?
can.
Yes.
Hair grows back.
So
You
it's
can
like,
change
yeah.
it. It's fine.
That brings up a good point though, so with casting, and if you do get a callback, whatever you wore for the initial one, wear the same thing to the callback, because that's what they're gonna recognize you in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's the guy that wore that, that's the person that wore
Or
this.
similar, at least.
Yeah.
Because that's how you start those relationships. It goes from, oh, that's the guy, to, oh, hey, Drew, what's up? It's like that kind of thing. It's,
One more thing on headshots, just really quickly, and I only say this because I actually saw a social media post yesterday that was very upsetting, because it was from a headshot studio here in Atlanta that was posting all these great headshots that they had done of actors, and
They're all looking away
they're
from the
not
camera.
looking at the camera.
That was gonna be when
Headshots is all about your eyes and personality. All right, it's right
That's
here.
a portrait.
What
So
makes a good headshot?
yeah.
Eyes
so,
and personality, right here.
So quickly, just
Yeah.
please vet your headshot photographers. Go to a reference list from a reputable source.
we have a bunch of them on peoplestore.net.
Yes, we have a headshot photographer next Saturday coming here to the studio who is amazing and doing 2 looks for a rate of 175, which is unreal.
That's insane.
So take advantage of those kinds of opportunities. But a good headshot is very, like, good lighting, well lit, natural light is amazing. If not, please make sure you're doing it in a studio that's properly lit by a professional photographer. A good headshot does not have crazy clothing, nothing too distracting.
Unless it's a character
Right.
that you always would play.
But if it's your corporate headshot and you're in a suit, maybe not like a bright red suit, just like keep it super simple. A good headshot is about what you look like. That's what they want to see. They want to see what you look like. So not overly made up, not overly photoshopped, looking at the camera, and you're an actor, tell us a story with your eyes. That's, to me, that's the headshots I love to see. And nothing mussed and fussed and overdone.
And one
I love wrinkles.
One more thing about the character looks, like, it's to sell the gist, the idea of that, because like you don't want to go in and be like, well, I'm going to go for exactly what this should, like, give them you, like we were saying, being true to your brand and authentic to what you know you can do. Give them the gist. Don't try to go so hyper specific
And
that
trust
it gets
that
lost.
they're intellectual enough and they have imaginations enough that they can
Right.
get there.
Right.
You don't have to wear an eye patch in a photo to get people to see you as a pirate. So they can get there. They're creative. They have good imaginations. Just give them the idea, because also that little bit more generic headshot of just maybe like facial hair and a little bit roughed up hair and like a flannel shirt is enough to get them to go, all right, blue collar or biker or like,
Right, I could
give
see
them
that,
options
like, yeah.
with it. Yeah.
So I've got 3 more questions.
Oh, good.
And then I think we're gonna turn
We lost
it over.
Drew. He gave up.
Well, and the next question, I actually thought I'd love to hear his answer, so I'm gonna hold off on that.
Okay.
Well, nobody's back. I can ask the question.
play
'Cause I'm
janitor.
so
I
interested
know,
in
play
his
janitor.
answer.
Okay, listen, this is for you, Drew.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna hold it off because it's a really good question. It'll be the last one. What should I look for when I'm selecting an acting class, and how does being in acting class help my career?
I won't take this because I teach acting class.
How about
I
from a
would say-
talent agent's perspective?
Yeah.
We both sigh.
What should I look for in an acting class?
Somebody that gets
It's
you and
selective.
pull
It's
things
a-
out.
Yeah,
of you.
it's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
again, it's a case-to-case basis.
It's like religion, like whatever feels right to you. I mean, I've taken classes in New York and LA and audit a class. Go in, see if you connect with the teacher, see if you connect with the other students. Everyone has a different way, and when you're on set, like my job as a director, I have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. I'm casting all of you, and you're all in my film. I'm telling you, you guys are all going to do the same role, completely different. So my job as a director is to know what works for you, and that really comes from where your training came from, what feels right to you. If it doesn't feel right, find somebody else.
Find somebody to challenge you, man. Just be
Yeah.
challenged.
And that can be either be in like a group class or it can be like a
Totally.
one-on-one coaching scenario. Again, it depends. And then it's like it's kind of sucks as an answer, but like that's why like ask your agent like what do you think? Because like we'll know you or people who know you or maybe in the industry like asking people like
Audit.
Drew or like
Just
just
audit.
figure it out and if if it's not a great fit for you, you're still acting, so figure it out and just kind of like
And I think
be-
also, like, I said I wasn't going to answer the question, but ask other actors.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you get to work with an actor and you love their approach and you love seeing the way they work, like, ask them if they've trained anywhere around here,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
they've trained. Like, that's great stuff.
I go to acting classes and I pop into different workshops and I pop into people's, the sessions and stuff, but I always love those because I know my quirks and I know my fallbacks and what I rely on. And you get comfortable in that world and it makes you stagnant. As actors, we always need to continue to grow, right? No matter what role we're playing, we got to continue to grow that role because we can play that role over and over and over again.
Casting directors don't have time
No.
to tell every agent
Yeah.
why all 300 people didn't get.
We would, from the agency standpoint,
Yes, but I want
we
to
would-
know.
Right, well, we would love to
Yeah.
know for you because
Yeah.
again, it's that relationship. But
if
like-
you call me, I can tell you, like, oh yeah, we
Yeah.
really like him, but
Yeah.
it's,
Thank
It's
you.
very rare.
Thank you.
yeah, it's very rare, and it's one of those things.
You
too,
hear
like,
that,
Drew-
Ryan? Did you call?
It's usually not unless you get very far
Close,
along in the
yeah.
process and then don't get cast that they might give your agent
What-
feedback. And honestly,
but they're
Is this the
it's
last
unavailable at that
almost
point.
usually
Yeah.
got nothing to do with you.
Right.
So feedback really is very rarely even helpful. Because
Yeah.
the feedback is generally just like, well, another guy was the role. I
Or
mean,
they
like, what do
went-
you
they
want me to
went
do?
younger
Like, your
than
guy
they
was
were.
good.
And it
You're
comes
just,
down to
you're just reminding them why you didn't get the
All right, and
Is
let's,
this the last question?
yeah, we're gonna tie it up with this, and I'd kind of like maybe some anecdotal stories if you have them, examples, real life examples.
more than what we've already given.
I know, right?
What mistakes have you seen actors make in their career?
Like personal?
Like, what, yeah, okay.
There are no mistakes, guys. There's no mistakes.
Yeah, there's no
I mean,
mistakes.
honestly, there's just choices, and if you're lucky, you get a second chance to make a different choice. But there's no mistakes. I mean, I just think
Challenge
being
yourself.
prepared. I mean, attitude. I'm telling you, don't complain that there's no crunchy peanut butter on set.
like
Attitude.
complaining on
Has
set.
that happened?
Complaining on set,
Complaining
which
on
is
set.
it's just
Really?
like
Yeah.
that will completely
Yeah.
it spreads so
If
fast.
that's the stuff I would say that categorizes as a mistake,
Yeah.
right? Is like if you're whiny on set, if you're like, first of all, again, remember how lucky you are to be there. Remember how many people wanted that role. Remember how much when you left that audition and you were like, oh God, I hope I got it, and then you get on set and you're like, ugh, are we done? Are we at the shot yet? Like you've just forgotten all the stuff
I'll
before.
tell you.
So.
My personal mistake is I didn't make the best out of every opportunity I had. I thought I was not enough. Even though I booked it and everything else, I sat in my trailer, I didn't observe, when I first started out, I didn't make the best of every opportunity I had. And I say that because I worked with, and I've been blessed and lucky in my career to work with some amazing, incredible actors and actresses and stuff, but Diane Keaton.
She's all right.
This lady left an impact on me on
We all
Mad
just want her to
Money.
be our mom.
No, but she literally, they introduced me to her, and me and her were doing these scenes together and stuff, and she goes, "Oh, Trey, so good to see you, how are you," and everything. I was like, "Hi." And it was
Can I
a
hug you?
surreal thing for a minute, right? And I got Tom Cruise on there, I got, what's his wife at that
Katie
time?
Holmes.
Katie Holmes. I got,
Which one is this?
the makeup thing,
Hey, Mad Money.
Money.
Mad Money.
And it's Diane Keaton. I'm like, "Hi," and she's like, "What do you want to do? What do you think? What do you want to do?" And she's asking me what I want to do. And I'm like, "I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I thought about you. I don't know." It was the first time that I realized that they're just humans. Even though we watch them, they're just humans. And then the next one was, and I'm gonna name drop one more time, because this is my most biggest, and I get chills
We're gonna have
talking
to
about
sweep
it.
the floor at the
Shut
end.
up. This is the biggest thing
I love it.
is when I booked the role on W, Oliver Stone, Josh Brolin, and I got a call from Mark Norby, who does all the stunts for Pirates of the Caribbean and everything else. He goes, "Drew, you were in the Navy, right? You were a diver, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Will you do this role for me? When you get done with that?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, what do you want?" Open to it, right? I'm like, I'm an actor. No, I'm not doing that. I'm like, "Yeah, man, what do you want?" He goes, "Just show up on this day. We got this scene set up, and I just need some, I need another body. Will you do it?" "Yeah, absolutely." I show up not knowing anything. They walk us in a room. It's literally me, Mark, another stunt guy, Josh Brolin, and Oliver Stone sitting right here. And we're sitting there at a round table, and I'm going, "What am I doing here?" And I'm brand new. I'm like literally not even a year into my career, and I just took every opportunity I possibly could up to that point, and took the business aspect of it to get me there. And I'm sitting there going, "Okay." And Mark and Oliver having small talk, Josh talking over here, and I'm just sitting there going. And all of a sudden, Oliver goes, "All right, I guess we need to set the shot up. Mark, what do you think we should do here?" And Mark goes, "Well, Oliver, Drew's a Navy SEAL. Ask him." And I went, "What?" And I swear to God, I puckered. And I thought, and I was like, "What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do?" And I looked over at Oliver, and I go, "Are we inside or outside?" And he goes, "We're inside." I go, "How deep's the pool?" He's 18 foot. I go, "Okay, the president's diving off. We got a person on top. We'd have two divers underneath. We'd have and I'm sitting this fast, and we'd have a person with two divers underneath with a 5-minute
To be
respirator
clear,
system.
Drew was never a Navy SEAL.
No, I was a frog man that went in, so I knew how to dive. But I was like going, and I was sitting there going blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden Josh goes, "Yeah, I like that." And he starts talking like George Bush, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" and all I heard was he liked that. I was like, and Oliver goes, "That's great." And the whole movie, Oliver walks around and goes, "Hey, come here, meet these Navy SEAL guys, Drew." And I'm like, "Oh God."
But that's a good point.
That was
Like, don't go up to them. You're going to be on set with Tom Cruise. Don't walk up to them.
No.
Wait until they talk to you. Like he sat quiet.
Just be a real person.
Yeah,
They will.
they will come talk to you. But yeah, stay away from the actors.
Oh.
I think
Peter Berg had his son give me direction. I
Sorry,
swear to God.
that was another name.
Wait, I love Peter.
Huh?
I love Peter.
So I did 3 seasons on Friday Night Lights, right? And I was coaching.
Can I answer
but
the
Peter
question
Berg,
that we
hold
were
on.
asking?
Peter Berg. I'm literally doing it with Connie, and Connie's and I's having this conversation in her office and stuff. And Peter goes, "Cut." His son walks up and goes, "You can do it better." Peter walks up and goes, "You heard him." I'm like, "You mother!" But we had that rapport, right?
Have them out the bins.
All right, Erin.
So just the only, and I'll categorize it as a mistake because it is avoidable. There are a lot of things that we look back on and we're like, "Man, I wish that hadn't happened that way." And it is what it is. There's nothing you can change about it. But the only mistake that I have ever made as an actor or ever seen really made of actors from behind the casting table or whatever is just lack of preparation. Just not being prepared. I mean, honestly, if you got yours and excuses, that's the other thing. I don't like when actors walk in casting rooms and give excuses immediately when they're like, "Oh, I just got this last night. Sorry, I don't have it." Don't
walk
just come
in
in and do
drunk.
it.
Don't.
Yeah, don't do it. But just lack of preparation, because the truth is, even if you did get the sides the night before, they know that.
It's your job, guys.
They
I mean,
know
it's
that you
gonna
got the
change on
sides the
set.
night before.
Yeah.
They know that you got it. They know when they send it out.
Agents
they know
have quick
we're not last
turnarounds,
minute.
you know,
So
sometimes something falls
I-
through, like you're
that's-
talking about, you're looking for somebody, you
Absolutely.
need it.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, I've run into circumstances along the line where people have like gotten a script and they're like, I got this at I got home at like 11 o'clock last night and I have the script and like your read was at 3 p.m. the next day.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, was
And
that
there's-
not
what
enough
did you
time
do?
for you?
Yeah.
Like, what do
How
like
much time do you need?
excuses and complaining?
Yeah.
Those two things just,
Are the death,
Especially because
it's toxic.
Especially because the time that we're in now as actors, I mean, I started submitting for film and television, this is gonna date me, but before we had smartphones and before we could send self-tapes digitally, we would get sides like emailed or faxed to us, and we would mail in our VHS tapes,
When
and
you
we
get
still
your
had
walker.
deadlines for those VHS tapes to get to the casting
So
office.
true.
So there was no like, I'll wait till the last minute, I'll record it at 11, I'll upload it at 11:59 and it's due at 12. Like, there was none of that. But it was still the same thing of like, I got faxed or emailed the scenes yesterday and I've got to have this VHS mailed out by last mail run today or it's not going to get there in time. So that stuff has never changed, and what's expected of you, because you're an actor and you have this little device in your hand where you can have your sides on you all the time.
Yeah.
So when you're, instead of like scrolling Instagram, you've been sent an audition. Look at your sides in your downtime, you know?
Guys, that,
there's
you'll
just-
get
there's
passed
just
right off the
no-
bat.
There's just
You
no
know,
pass for it anymore.
If you're not
especially.
prepared, you're passed anyways, because there's
Yeah.
100 people behind you that want to be prepared and want that role and just as hungry as you are. So you got to fight for it. You got to get it. You got to go out there and get the hunger for it. If you want to do it, be hungry for it and chase it. It's like anything in your life that you wanted, chase it.
Because we'd rather work with someone who is going to be a go-getter and who's like, I got these sides, yeah, I got it. Like, even if, like, you don't got it, like, I got this, I'll handle it. You know,
Yeah.
like, don't make
Please don't
excuses.
say to your agent, like, oh, why did I just get him now? It's due tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to do it. Don't
Yeah, it's
please
like, I mean,
don't do that.
I can't
Guys,
get it for you faster.
it's
you
gonna
know?
change on set. So
Yeah.
if you can't learn your lines in 15 hours,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to learn your lines in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
It's just,
you gotta know how to, you gotta know how to
Alright.
adapt and just work with the circumstances.
Let's
Yeah.
open
Is
it
that
up
all
to
of
the
our
room.
questions on the list?
It is.
Ooh, we did it.
I have a question.
they're like, whoa, their heads are.
Yes, Drew?
Right?
Who's actually, like, every day feels like they're waking up pursuing this? Pursuing the passion behind it?
Oh, that's an interesting anecdote, actually, that I wanted to remember to say. I'm glad that you asked that question. So that's one thing. So I love actor interviews and things like inside the actor's studio, all that stuff, just like hearing about people's careers and how they came to do it and things like that. And I heard Dennis Quaid one time in an interview, who I love. I heard him talking about just his very early career. He like started in stand-up and stuff like that. So, but he talked about early on in his career, he made a commitment that every single day he would do at least one thing that got his career further than it had been the day before. So not unrealistic, not crazy unrealistic expectations of like, by tomorrow I'm gonna have an agent, by, you know.
Take
not
the rule
this
of
stuff,
five.
But just every day I'm gonna make sure I do something today that moves it a step further than it was
Could be
the day
watching a
before.
movie from a director that you wanna work with.
Yeah.
It could be
It could be
going on
sending an
IMDb.
email
Yeah.
to somebody that
'Cause that's
you want to
education,
reach out
that's
to.
knowledge.
It can
Watching
be
a
so
show that
important.
you know shoots here that you want to target.
yeah.
know who the actors are.
But
know-
some
yeah.
things so that you don't let a day go by that you've not made a step forward. Because then you look back and at the end of the year, you are 365 steps closer to where you want to be than you were
Well, they
last
can
year.
rest on the Sabbath.
Right, because
Yeah.
Let's
Keep it holy.
Let's open it up to the room. Who has
Or
a
Shabbat,
question?
whatever.
I'm gonna start with this gentleman in the back.
So this may be practical all of you, but mostly for Ryan as having a child actress. Getting that slide sent to you at, sorry, I'm new to this.
We understand.
Don't worry about it.
We got you.
Yeah.
So, we're getting them at 3 in the afternoon and it's due the next day.
Mhm.
She's at school.
Mhm.
She's got, you know, acting class here after school or something after school.
Sure.
Drew said something last night, you can say no. Can you really say no to decline.
Oh, yeah. So,
But, and
It doesn't look bad.
How does that look?
Well, no one's
you're-
available 100%.
Yeah, but if you're declining because you don't feel like she's prepared enough, I would say just go in and try it, because it's not about the actual words on the page unless you're auditioning for Sorkin. It's about the essence.
Finding
it's
the
about
character.
her look. It's about, so as long as she can have the sides in her hand when she's auditioning, as long as you're not like reading off of it. If it makes you feel more comfortable just having it in your hand, because sometimes that your brain like tricks itself just having it there. I'd rather see what she does with a similar material than to actually have her word for word off book. But if it's like you're going away, or you're ill, or
You've got
it's just
huge family obligations, and it's just
or
not
it's
the
just
right
not something you feel
time or-
comfortable with.
Yeah.
If it's too, then absolutely you can decline it, and it doesn't look bad on you.
I would
Yeah.
say a huge key for any actor is developing a killer cold read technique. Figure it out. Figure it out. Find a way to find the character in 15 minutes, if that's all you have. Find your shortcuts and make it work, because if you can develop this like astounding cold read technique, you will never again have that panic of, oh, I just got the script last night and it's due at noon and I don't have time. If you know, like, you have the confidence, like, you know what, I've got this technique down. If I only have 15 minutes, I can nail this audition and I can show them at least something that will keep me in the good
And
graces of the casting director.
I'd like to hear from Ryan as being the talent agent, because when is it appropriate to say no? What's the best way to communicate that to you?
be open to the agent side. We keep a very open line of communication. Every email that I send out, if I'm sending out appointments like for talent, like, hey, tape for this, I'm copying our co-head of film and TV, and I'm copying the other team members. It's very open. If you need to pass, like she was saying, I mean, if you have like a family obligation or something like that, let us know. Because if you come back to us and say, hey, our aunt is not doing well until we have to go up to Tennessee to do whatever, we're not going to tell casting that. We're just going to say, like, hey, there's a situation here, they're unable to do it. If there are situations,
Chances are you come back and we still haven't filled that role, I might call him again and say, can she put herself on tape now?
exactly. Or if it's an in-person audition, they're rare. They're very rare. Like she was saying, 90 to 95% is like off tape. But in those circumstances, sometimes we can get a self-tape. But it's definitely okay to pass, because it's better for us to let casting know, hey, there's a situation here. Because if you just say pass and then don't let the agent know, then it looks like you saw the material and we're like, pfft.
Well, and also,
you don't
I
wanna
would
do
say, I mean, she's obviously older, but most of the kids I've worked with barely read.
Wow.
And from the
It's the essence.
the cold read, like she was saying with the cold read, I have a little anecdote about that as well. Like I watched an audition from a little girl at one point in time where she was like this, kind of like sassy little girl at a lunchroom, and she was not prepared off the sides. She had the sides out, and she was in her chair, and she was like, she made it into the character, so she had it out. She was just kind of like, she would give the lines, and then she'd kind of look up from her sides and be like, yeah, and then give a line, and then look right back down at the sides, but she used it in the audition to sell the character.
That's a good cold read technique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she sold the character to us, and I couldn't, from where I was sitting on the table, I couldn't see her face half the time, but I just saw the posture and the way she had the sides
The
up that she was
tone in
using
her
them, the
voice,
tone,
yeah.
and I was just like, I'm sold, like, because like you were saying,
it's
essence.
enough.
Yeah.
Essence, yeah.
It's enough, especially with kids. I think we were talking the other day about a couple kids that we cast that both of them, we don't even remember their actual audition. One kid we cast off of his slate. His slate was so cute.
Yeah,
We were like, that's the kid. Like, he's the one.
I'll figure out how to make him act.
Yeah,
like-
and then and then the other kid, we don't even remember her audition. It was an in-the-room audition, but at the end of it, she walked up to the casting table. Drew was the director. She marched straight up to the casting table. She was 5 years old. Put her hand out and said, "Good luck with the project, Mr. Waters." And we were like, "Oh, done! Like, she's in!" Like,
And she had me a business card. I was like,
yeah,
what?
she handed over a business card. We were like,
Swear to
"That's
God."
it! Like, that's the kid."
But on the opposite side, can I just say on the
Yeah,
opposite
of course.
side real quick? I had an actress once that I called and I thought she was fantastic for a movie that ended up on Lifetime, and her response was, "Well, I just did a big movie and they're expecting it to go theatrical, so I don't really want to do Lifetime movies." Okay, so not only did that movie not go anywhere, then cut to 2 or 3 years later, I get a call from another friend of mine. "Oh, you should look at this actress." I'm like, "She's great. I know her personally. I would never hire her because I was beneath her.
She got big for her britches.
She got so big for her britches. So she turned down the audition. She wouldn't even read because she thought she was going to be the next Julia Roberts.
She didn't think she had to read anymore.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. That's definitely a
Also, like I always go back to, because I mean, like, we're probably all three of us are at a point in our acting careers where we do get straight up offers, right? Like we do. There are roles that we don't have to audition for. But I do know actors that get upset when they have to audition, like they've reached that certain level where they are getting offers and they start to get sad. First of all, like, I mean, Emma Stone had to audition for La La Land, right? I mean, like, you're never above it, right? Yeah. But also, I always go back to the, like, Joey on Friends when he's like, they wanted me to audition, and Lisa Kudrow, Phoebe is like, you, an actor? That's madness. I love that, because it's just like, what? They wanted you to do your job? Insanity.
Grant, you had a question?
Yeah, so in this era of self-tape, where you pretty much tape from wherever, say if you're out of town or something, when should I book out with my agent? Like, say I can go to like a Dogs game for like the weekend or something, and like, something like pops up and I could like tape it real quick, like, wherever from wherever. So like, when should I particularly book out?
We don't typically like book out people unless it's like, if it's like a week or less, we're not gonna like mark everything on the calendar. Some people, it's again keeping the open line of communication. We just had a client email us this week and was like, hey, I'm gonna go on vacation with my family, but I can self-tape. So it's good for us to know where you are, and so that way we kind of have that in the back of our head. So if we get an in-person audition, I don't have to say, you know, hey, we can't, like, I don't have to go to casting and ask, hey, can we self-tape? Because I think they're out of town. Like, I don't have to go to the actor and say, hey, are you out of town? We just know. So if it's a long stint, you know, like we've had talent be like, okay, well, I'm going to go on vacation, or I have like a family thing, I have to be here for a certain chunk of time, and it's like months or things like that. Yeah, but just keeping that open line of communication, it never bothers us to get those emails like, oh, hey, I got to go out of town for this weekend. Because, like, that's fine. But so if something comes up, at least we know.
But not a weekend thing. Like if he pops up to.
No, sure. If you're on, like, if we know it's more specific. Like if you've just auditioned for something and we know, like, they've asked in the self-submission notes, like, hey, callbacks are this date. Don't leave if it's within that window, you know. So it's.
Or if you know you're not available, then say I'm not available for the callback.
For the shoot dates or for the callback.
Right.
That's the biggest thing is like, if you've got something for sure on the calendar that's immovable, and you get an audition for something that the shoot dates are that, you got to let your agent know. And then they may be able to say, well, let's see how flexible their shoot dates are, or if they're not flexible at all, they'll go, well then.
Because we know when it's okay and when it's not okay to kind of push that and see, because it makes your life more difficult and it makes our lives more difficult, because we also have to go in. And a lot of, like, especially when you start getting avail checks, like, casting has to know, like, if you're getting if you're in consideration for Project A, well, we need to know those dates. But if you're also in consideration for Project B, Project A also has to know about that. So it's a dance.
And it always happens.
It's always calendar.
Yep.
Yeah, everything always arrives at the same time.
Put the first audition in, knowing that you may have a conflict. Let your agent know, and let them make the decision whether to push it forward, because you never know what the schedule is going to change in production. Because
if it's something like a guest star role on an occurring show, it's not likely they're going to change their shoot schedule for you. No. Not likely. Not impossible, but not likely. But if it's an independent film or something like that, they may be able to. I mean, we were talking about Jason Berkey earlier, and he and I played husband and wife in a movie like a year ago, and he got married he was supposed to get married like in the middle of the shoot dates. His wedding was like week 2 of shooting. So the movie had to, I mean, like, it's not like, well, could you move your wedding, you know? Like, we can't do that. And it was an independent film, and he's a desirable actor, and they wanted him for the role, so they made the
But if an audition comes in and it says, like, this is the shoot date window, and you know you're going to be in Italy that week, then definitely tell your agent.
Because it's good to be forthcoming about that, because, again, if the actor doesn't let us know that, and then we get an avail check, and then casting's like, okay, cool, like, and because if the actor has not let us know about conflicts, and it looks bad for us, and then we get
Because then
yelled
you
at.
have to go back.
You
and-
gotta look at it this way, is that production may have lost one of their mains and stuff and had to push anyways. So you may be back in the time, and so now they have the audition tape, and they can resubmit that when it comes to, if that happens and stuff. And that may happen within a week and 2 week window.
Yeah.
Or if
So-
we know that we, like your scene is in a diner and we set up, this shoot date where we start at the diner, then we know we really want you, but we know you're out of town for the 2 weeks. If you give us enough leeway, we can then move locations around sometimes. I mean, there's so many logistics, so.
Yeah,
I'm
so be
gonna
forthcoming.
pop
Yes.
one side of the
Transparency.
room to the next, if that's okay, because we're not gonna be able to get everyone.
She's
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
she's doing great.
I have
She's
like a
amazing.
million-part question, but it's mostly about taping. Kind of to piggyback onto that, like I was just out of town unexpectedly at my mom's, got an audition, and I like taped outside in front of a big brick wall. How much does that affect your taping? Also, how important is the timing? When you have 5 days, are you better to be day 1, day 5, middle of the road? Also, do you really look at the slates on Actors Access? How important is that? And
Let's hold it
Okay.
to the 3.
Okay.
well, the last one is like speed scenes versus reels or clips.
Speed scenes?
When you go and actually just like, you have no footage, so it's very popular right now.
You're doing a monologue in front of it.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
that's
They
YouTube.
write
Oh,
a scene
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
tape it for you.
Yeah.
That's you. That's
You
where
guys-
Ryan comes
yeah.
in.
It depends on the casting office. Outside is typically a no-go, period, for us. Like in the offices that we deal with, like in casting, they want it in a neutral background. If you're in a hotel because you're on set, put in submission notes, or we'll explain, because we know where you are. If you're booked on set, or like you're doing it in a trailer, things like that, we get it. Outside,
It's
is a
just too
no-go.
hard of a light.
Also,
Yeah.
if you're in or near any decently sized city, there's probably a taping room.
Yeah.
So even if it's not your hometown or you're not where you live, a quick Google for audition taping services and dropping, $30 or so to get a nice tape, even though you're traveling, is well worth
But
it.
Here's a good-
if it's a choice between a brick wall outside or nothing
Or
at all,
nothing.
just tell your agent, because I'm telling you,
Yeah.
as the director and the producer, I'm not looking at that.
And
As
we'll
long as I
let
can
casting
see.
know that.
But if I know, like, oh, she's
traveling,
I mean, I've had somebody send me a tape when she was on a cruise in Greece. So I knew ahead of time that her.
We've done it. We've taped Drew
Yeah,
behind a Walmart.
So just talk, just talk.
Here's a quick traveling note and stuff. You can get those little bendy
Yeah.
phone
Tripod,
jays and stuff.
yeah.
I've rearranged many hotel rooms. I wait to daylight. I open the blinds so daylight's not in my face. That way the background's far enough away. And it's all about this anyways. You got to get this. And you need to see your eyes. And I Skype people and have them on my computer.
We've pulled
having
artwork off of walls in
conversation.
hotel rooms.
Literally having conversation on Skype and doing my audition because I'm on set doing something else and I just don't have the time to get in somewhere.
Or we've closed the curtains to get the neutral curtain background.
Basically, there's no
and
excuse.
put the lamps, taking shades off of lamps.
You can get a ring light for your iPhone.
Yeah.
There was also the question, if there's 5 days, you get the audition, please submit.
Don't rush yourself to the point where, if you have enough time to prepare, then do
Give it space.
adequate preparation for it.
But don't submit at the last
No,
second
because
either.
there are certain casting directors, there's a casting director that we work with here in town where he watches tapes on a rolling basis. So we're like,
And they
if you get this audition, we'll put that in the notes. Like, hey, this casting director watches it on a rolling basis, so
As they come in.
go get it. Yeah. So it depends, but you're unfortunately, at least from what I'm seeing, is that you don't get 24 to 72 hours. So that as soon as you can is great. Very rarely will we have a week's notice.
I tend to think number one, obviously it depends on your schedule, and just how much time you have with the material and what you have going on in that window. But to me, to delay an extra 24 hours close to the deadline, what are you going to be able to accomplish in that last 24 hours that you weren't ready to shoot the day before, and just get it in and have it done and you're not sweating,
Especially since we've been watching tapes
Yeah.
chances are I might have already picked somebody on day one.
Well, because
Yeah.
also
Really
too, you may have something wrong with your tape. The audio
Yeah.
may have a problem.
Yeah.
That's why I review tapes before they go out.
Right.
That's a big part of what I do. So, you know, if you're gonna submit at like 11:59,
Give yourself time to make mistakes.
Exactly, because like we'll know. Like if there's an internet problem, I've had clients email me after hours like, hey, I know it's due in the morning. I'm having trouble right now, so I know what's going on. If I know what's
Stressing
going on-
yourself out for no reason.
Right. So if you were to start, and sometimes it's out of their control, but if it's in your control, the earlier the better.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, sir, you had a question.
Yeah, I have kind of I did, when I was young, I took method acting, and I you know, I did a part in a movie, it was Attica, and and I decided, you know, I can't do this, I'll do this part, but I can't, you know, they wanted me to commit and go to Lima, and I couldn't do it, because I was in college. But anyway, fast forward, you know, to about 7 years ago, and I came in and I read for a part, and I got it, and it was Atlanta to New York, and it was just it was anyway. I did the part, and it's you know, I guess now it's probably used for, you know, sending in the you know, send it in to be looked at. But from that time, I had a stroke, and I had a kidney transplant and stuff like that. But I had some taping that I've done in addition to that.
Sure.
This is what I want to say, really. But I don't know, should I put that down, or should I explain something in there, because there's...
Are you starting over?
Yeah, I'm starting over.
Well, I mean, if you don't have anything strong, be that person that starts over, be that new face, you know, because now you become more interesting and stuff as somebody that's coming from something new.
Right.
You know?
Use your experience.
Yeah, because the longer you are in this industry
Yeah.
and the less work you do within it, sadly enough, it's like anything. It's like a car. As it ages, people kind of forget about it unless you are always updating it and always pushing it. I mean, it's just the reality of it. But if you're always continuously working and showing progress and showing stuff like we've talked about earlier, is that then we're interested in that. But if you're starting over again, I would say the clean slate side of it is more, I think you'll have a better traction. Yeah.
Okay.
But tell your agent.
Because you overcame that.
Yeah. Use it.
Things like
Put
that.
that stuff
I
on
ride
there.
horses.
Put that
Scuba
stuff on
diving.
there.
Scuba diving. Texas.
But it's good to put on there. It's
Put
good
it
to put
on
on there.
there.
Because even if they're on a freeze, if they see that and you say, oh, I speak 4 languages,
comes out,
they go,
yeah.
oh, interesting, I don't
That's
have,
good to know.
you know.
because it's always about, you know, there's gaps in every category, and so like, you know, there may be something about you that sets you apart
It
from
has to be
everybody.
special, not
Can
like
I
I can write
can
about.
I say
Right, exactly.
though on special skills, only because I've seen this a lot. Don't say you can speak a language you don't speak.
You will get called for it.
Just
Yep.
because you can read occasional signs in Spanish
Thinking
does
the
not
Dutch?
mean you speak Spanish
Oh.
fluently. That wasn't even correct.
If you say it with belief, it is.
Don't say you have skills you don't have. Don't say that you're an equestrian horseback rider. If you then get cast in a show and they're going to put you on a horse and you're like, how do I get on this thing? It's gonna be bad. But and don't say that you do accents just because you think you do accents. Get another opinion. Ask someone if they think your accent is actually like believable. I know as actors, a lot of us are very self-taught on our accents, and we hear it differently than other people hear it. So
Dude, I could
just
slay
a
an
little
English
FYI.
accent.
All right,
Like
we got 10 more minutes, so I'm gonna limit it to 3 more questions. Yes, ma'am, you've been waiting quite a long time.
Yes, hello, I'm Tamika Wiley, thank you panel. Anyway, my question is, I'm represented since January, and it was my very first agency. It wasn't as open as I would have liked it, and I didn't get a lot of answers. I've been booking things on my own, like personal injury court and Tyler Perry, day player stuff. Now,
That's great.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Good for you.
yeah, I've been busy lately.
Yeah.
Now, how do I get that footage to submit to agencies to show I am working, I am dedicated, but I'm not represented, so I don't know how to get it since I don't have the guys to get it out of the contracts.
Do you have the call sheet?
I was about to say, you have a call sheet,
I do
right?
have the call.
Then you have the producer's
Contact the
number.
producer.
Who do I contact without being creepy?
Yeah.
The
Producers.
production house, call the production house and their assistant will tell you, and then you just say, I'm looking for my footage, is there any way I can get it? And they'll say yes or no.
And
That's
also,
different. You've worked for them. You've been on
Right.
set.
Right.
That's different than someone just cold calling.
Yeah.
You're getting their
Right.
information
Yeah.
from a call sheet from work you actually did, not from an IMDb search.
Yeah.
and as far as getting
So-
that to the agencies that you're sort of submitting to, like headshot and resume. That, I mean, yes, the real, but like if you're just starting, like, you know, I don't know, because I don't know where you're at in your career. If you're just starting out and you've only booked like 2 things, I mean, like it doesn't make sense to cut a reel together. Put it on your resume. Oh, good. Yeah. So like I said, I don't know where you're at, but it depends. So like, you know, make sure you're also updating your resume as well.
But you can start with headshot and resume. Even
Yeah.
if you don't have that footage yet, you can start
Yeah,
that
that's what I was
agency
trying to say on that.
submission,
Yeah.
with headshot and resume. And then if they come back and they say, well, do you have any footage? If you have any, you can send what you have, but you can also say, I'm currently working on getting footage from the Tyler Perry project to add to my
Which
reel,
will
whatever.
probably take a while.
Which,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it just does. It takes time.
Okay, 2 more questions. We're gonna, yes ma'am, and then you, Sonny, after.
Yes, what is, or, well, is there, and if there is, what is the etiquette for after you've been on a show or you've done a commercial for sending thank you notes or like, I hear actors talk about this sometimes. Is there a standard? Is there something, how does that work?
I saw it today. There's a girl that did The Residence on another show, and she just sent on her social media, she made a little, what do you call them, little banner or whatever. And she said, I just wanted to say, greatest time of my career to date, and this director
And
was
tagged
amazing
them
to
and-
work with, and they tagged them. And that way, you're not pushing on them, but you're showing them that you really appreciated them. You know, and then you build those rapport.
It can be that simple. I really do think it can. Honestly, a lot of the way you say thank you is by showing up and doing a freaking great job.
And not being a pain.
And they'll notice.
That really is the way you say thank you. But then I do think it's nice to acknowledge the people you enjoyed working with. So whether it's a social media post or just shooting off a quick email to whoever emailed you the call sheet for the day. If at the end of wrap, you just shoot a quick email back to them to just say like, hey, great working with you guys. Thanks so much. Really loved the process. Don't send a book because they won't read it.
Right.
But
Short
to
and
just
sweet.
fire off a quick couple of sentences is great. And then also to shoot an email to your agent that booked you
Yeah.
on it to keep that rapport going and that relationship
It
going.
absolutely makes our day to see
Yeah.
like
These
clients
guys work hard.
that we booked people on. Sometimes we'll get pictures, especially when our clients are working together on shows. They'll be like, "Hey, I saw this person on set, and here's just a selfie." Like, it absolutely makes our day because, like, you know, it's a lot of emailing and a lot of back and forth. So as much as we can
Yeah.
see your faces is awesome.
And also the social media stuff is great because that has the opportunity to actually, as much as it sounds like selfish, actually also become promotion for you.
And don't ever post on set.
No.
Never,
No.
ever, ever.
No.
Be sued. Do not
Yeah, don't
ever
do
put
it.
your phone, bring your phones out. Do never take photos of actors without their permission. Now, if they say, hey, come take a photo with it, you know, you can ask the director, but no cell phones on set.
Yeah.
And if you want your agent to come, if you're like working a 2-day thing, you know, just tell me, and I'll invite your agent to come to set. 'Cause why not? You know, why not have them come to set?
But it can become great promotion for you because let's say you snap a photo of yourself in the makeup trailer getting ready for the day and you tag your agent at People's Store in it and you're like so psyched to be working on The Resident, thanks at People's Store.
Yeah.
And then they like share it and they're like, our
Yeah.
girl's working on The
But
Resident. So
talk
now
to
it
your
becomes,
agent first.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they
But
want
now
some
it
character
becomes
they don't want people to
viral.
know about.
But when
And you'll sign a you'll sign a
Yeah.
non.
Yeah.
And they'll
But
go
when
after
it's-
you, so
Yeah.
don't
when
pull
it's
your phone
like
out.
when it's appropriate though, we love that. And like
Yeah.
I mean, because I know people sort of repost that kind of stuff all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, I
'cause
see
we
you guys do it all the
absolutely
time.
we love
Yeah.
to see that kind of stuff. It's
All
awesome.
right, final question, Sonny.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Sunny.
Hi, Sonny.
So I had a question for all of you. I
Aw.
wanted to see how you all answer this question. It's about multiple takes when you're doing a self-submission. Sometimes in the breakdowns, the casting director will say, we want to see 3 takes. Sometimes they don't say it. And I've talked to different actors who just swear they say every time they send pre-takes, no matter what. The more the better.
If it's vastly different, then do it. But if you're just doing a slight intonation differently, we got your essence. We're looking for your essence.
Yeah, because like that's again piggybacking off of the 95% of what books is off tape. So if you can't get in the room, it's really good to show the versatility. So when I'm working with actors or seeing, self tapes or getting recommendations, you're giving recommendations. It's like you said, if there's like, look at the scene, and the way that we always sort of explain this to our talent is that do one take and just as it's there, however because you can tell. It's like, okay, if this is a dramatic scene, this is how.
Making your most educated guess.
Yeah, make a most educated guess, because sometimes people will be like, well, I don't have any scene context, and they'll email us like, what about the scene context? I'm like, we don't know anything, because they're not releasing it. So your best guess, and then make a creative decision.
And when they ask for 3, they want 3 different takes.
Yeah, because sometimes they will be like, I want you to do one take, literally verbatim, and then one take where you just literally just play around and like add the stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's that specific, but we always recommend that you do 2 takes and do one where you're sort of making a more drastic decision. But again, like you said, if it's an intonation, then just do the one.
If it's a slight adjustment, there's no point. Just go with what feels right and send that. But I think especially depending on the scene, because there are scenes sometimes, because of how little information we're given in auditions, and we don't get the whole script, and we don't get to know, there's so many unanswered questions. And so I do think there are a lot of scenes, let's say you're auditioning for an NCIS or whatever, and it's the scene is you're being interrogated, and you don't know if you did it or not.
Right.
You don't know.
Okay.
You good?
I saw that thing jumped up and got you.
Solid recovery. You just can't get that information, right? So that's a place where it's really safe to send 2 different versions. To send one version where you are genuinely innocent and you are fighting to be heard, and then one version where you know you did it and you just need to get away with it. That's drastically different.
Yeah.
And because you can't get that info necessarily from the information, it's really nice to send both because they know.
Yeah.
Right?
And
They
usually
know
in the
script.
submission uploads and stuff, it'll say every take, label it this way. It doesn't say only one take. It says every take, do it this way.
Right.
Don't go overboard.
Right.
But if you feel like what she was saying that you want to do, then that's it. You just follow that.
And slate
it
as
is
yourself,
key.
not the character.
It is key, and you tell me if I'm wrong
Yes.
about this. It is key right now, and it drives me freaking crazy that casting directors can't get on the same page on this thing. Everybody has their own way they want to submit things.
Slate.
Yes.
Yeah, or
Well, no,
name
the
the
way
files
you file it,
or-
this, that, and everything.
Yeah.
Everybody's completely different. But that is your first opportunity to show that you can follow directions. So
Yes.
make sure you do it right.
Because when it comes in, the casting director
filing system,
they
right?
know who is coming in from
Yes.
by the way it's labeled.
Right.
So.
And please take away the easy no if you don't follow those directions. It's such a simple thing. It's not to say that your stuff won't get seen if you don't submit it appropriately, but it is to say that you're making your agent's job easier to submit you, and you're making the casting director's job easier. So make it easier for them to see your stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, especially if you're like certain casting offices, like we were saying, like each one is a different like kind of a instructions or labeling technique or whatever. If you see that it's coming from a casting director that you've worked with before, do not skip that part of the email. When I send out emails like that, and I'm sending out appointment information, I'm putting it in there because you need to read it. I've had to read it. We want you to read it because sometimes they'll put us in like with asterisks, like, hey, new information, but sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So.
And they switch it up.
You don't want to risk not being seen.
And they're not trying to trick you. It's just this is what they need, and we're trying to make their lives simpler. So.
And it is annoying because some of them it's like, stand on your head and quote
Yeah.
Shakespeare and then
Yeah.
say your first and last name and then your middle name after your last name.
But
And
don't
some
say
of
your
them are-
agency.
Right. Some of them are insane, but that's the name
Sometimes
of the
they
game.
want you to say your agency.
Sometimes they do,
I
and
know.
sometimes they're like, do not. I'm like, okay.
All right,
Can't
guys.
many times it was like,
Well, before we wrap it all up, I just want to talk about some of the ahas that I've had today as a working actor, sitting in the room listening to all these great questions and all the fantastic advice. The thing that stuck out most to me, and it's my number one, come from contribution. whoever you're working with, whether you're in class, whether you're on set, whether you're working with your taping services, it's about being kind, being wonderful and beautiful to work with. And that was my biggest kind of takeaway. Find a camera and get in front of it. That was another one of my
Or
favorite
behind
ones.
it, whatever you
Or
want to
whatever
do.
you wanna do.
Get around it.
Invest in yourself and sweat equity. It's
Yeah.
another one I took away, you know? Your training, your networking, your financial plan. Talent agents help those who help themselves. That one really stuck with me as well.
That's why they only get 10%.
Find your niche. Headshot rule of 3. And it's always going to change when you get on set.
Guys, I just want to put a quick button on it. Listen,
And I
whoever
was going
does
to
it,
ask for the button for each one of you. What are your final words, and then we'll close
I'll let the
out.
ladies go first. Go ahead.
Thank
Oh, no, you were gonna
No,
start.
no, no, Chivalry is alive and well.
Go ahead. You first. You were gonna start already. You
Please.
started.
Beauty before the beast.
Oh, all right. My rules. Please, Drew, carry on.
Here's the thing. We talked about a lot about agents and the business and everything else. If you're starting out, then just, if you're hungry about it, you want to learn more about it, great opportunities like getting in classes like with Atlanta Hollywood, finding workshops, talking to people that are actually active doing it as well. Learn from each other. The mistakes are going to come. Learn from the mistakes and grow from it. But don't let it deter you from not chasing if you're really passionate about it, because all you have to do in the great world we live in today is go on and go www whatever and search for it, and you can find answers and then weed through the answers and find the best answers that you seem fit in what you're wanting to chase. And then with that relationship that you built, you can start building that trust and understanding it more and build your way up to it. If you are actors that feel like you have a foothold in this, but you haven't got the right opportunity yet and this, change up what you're doing a little bit. You know, if you're comfortable, get out of your comfort zone. Show somebody else your audition tapes. Maybe I asked when I moved to Atlanta, I was still booking out in LA, flying back to LA, going, why am I not booking in Atlanta if I'm booking in LA? And they're like, Bruce is gonna sound crazy, but we've noticed that with the audition tapes, the casting directors like this a little bit more than this. And so I started looking at it and
learning
changing
what
it.
casting's looking
And I
for,
started
where you're at.
switching the way I approached it and stuff, and then I got more traction. You have to understand, you have to be responsible, you have to know this business, always knowing the changing of this business, and be responsible enough to take action to pursue it. Because if we don't know you, we can't hire you. If they don't know us, they can't hire us. And so we have to make the conscious decision to move our craft forward constantly. There's no right or wrong, like we said, there's no mistakes. It's just learning and adjusting and trial and error and hoping and growing and sitting back and knowing that you did your best and waiting for that next phone call, but keep life going. Because living life is the best way to become an actor. You got to fulfill yourself before you can fill a character. Because you can't hide behind a character because it's fake. It just
Thanks,
is.
Drew.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brian, let's just keep going down the road.
Yeah, we really appreciate everybody coming out.
Oh, I appreciate
as
everybody
well.
coming out,
Yeah, it's
Weird thing every day.
I once had somebody tell me that like you can't be nice and be in this industry, and I really disagree with that. I disagree with that wholeheartedly, because kind of like we were all saying earlier, it's like, you know, you gotta be awesome to work with and you're gonna want to make people want to work with you, you know. So bring that energy and bring that passion, and remember, don't ever forget why you wanted to get into this in the first place, because this is a really tough industry, and that's why I wanted to get into this side of it, is because it's really difficult to get in this industry in front of or behind the camera. It's very difficult, and it's very discouraging, and it can feel very impersonal all the time, because you're constantly, as actors, putting yourselves out there and sticking your necks out and then getting rejected, I would say the majority of the time, you know. And it's just remember why you got into it, and don't take those things personally. Know that there are so many factors that even we see on the agency side. If we get someone out there and they get really far into the process but ultimately don't get the role, it can have something to do with just like this person, like looks too similar to this person, or this looks like the casting director's ex, you know, like,
Yeah.
it just,
Yep.
it really, honestly,
I've
it
heard
can,
that.
it can
Oh, yeah.
be something as simple as that. So don't ever discount yourselves, and just know that even, especially like, people who book a lot in our agency, they go through slumps too. Everybody does, and yours may feel really, really long and really hard. But it's, when you get to that mountaintop, it's gonna be worth it. So just don't forget why you started and keep having fun with it.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say it's a business. I mean, you just gotta remember, no one's entitled. It's not gonna be given to you because you're talented or good-looking. It's a business, and just like any other business, you gotta treat it as such and be kind. I started off saying that when we got here, but also be kind to yourself, because it's tough. It's tough, but if it's part of your soul, then you gotta do it, right? What else are you gonna do?
But it's such a high when it's a high.
Yeah, but even when you get to the top of the mountain, you still gotta come down that mountain, you know? It's just, you know,
Peaks and
it's.
valleys.
You don't get to live up there.
Yeah, I think that, I think we covered a lot.
We
did.
have
I
covered a
feel
lot
like
today,
we
yeah,
did.
it's been awesome. Erin, do you have any last words?
I think I just like two last kind of thoughts. One is that we use a lot of terminology like, am I gonna like make it in this business, or that somebody has like arrived, you know, this sort of idea that like there's a point in this career where it gets easy and you get to coast, and that's just not true. I mean, even the people that we go pay the $28 or whatever it is for a movie ticket now to go see, they're hustling and they're working their butts off every single day, and they're still facing rejection, and they're still not getting things made that they want to get made. I mean, the recent example I use all the time is like, it took Pasek and Paul, who are great songwriters who wrote Dear Evan Hansen and won Tony Awards, plus pairing up with Hugh Jackman, 7 years still to get Greatest Showman made. You know, so like if Hugh Jackman can't get a movie made, I don't know who gets a movie made, you know. Yeah. So it's hard work, and there is no such thing as like, oh, there will just come a point where I don't have to work this hard and this will all be easy. Every bit of success just creates a new opportunity for hard work, basically. So I would say like making sure your work ethic, like you're prepared for that. It's a 60-year career, not a 6-year career. And it's going to be constant work. And then one other thing I just wanted to like end on, because we were talking a little bit about just the rejection and frustration and all that. And there's an actor he's actually a Broadway actor, so he's not like a hugely known name, but he said that one of his biggest learning lessons was his mother always used to say, what is for you will not go by you. And I think that's just a great thing for us to hold on to. When we get rejected, that one just wasn't for us. When we don't get a part, it's not because we weren't good enough. It's not because we didn't try hard enough. It's not because our agent didn't fight for us. It just wasn't for us. It was for someone else. And that's fine. And there will be one for us.
Enjoy every opportunity. Enjoy it, because that's an opportunity.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you.
If you're not already in classes, check out Atlanta Hollywood, since we're here. And also, if you need new headshots, guys, seriously, the headshot deal next Saturday, there's still some slots available. And this guy can probably tell you, like, getting a great headshot with 2 looks for $175.
That's amazing. That's insane.
It's an unbelievable deal.
And he's a great guy. I'm getting mine with him. So
Yeah, I'm not just saying that. That's really dab. So.
Yeah. So.
Photography on the cover.
Oh yeah, he did those too. But check it out. That's on the website. There are a few time slots still available. Hopefully, if this does well, Jerry will do this for us again at this rate, because it's really an amazing rate. So make sure you get in there if you need those headshots done.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.